We are live from Captain Dick Smith Field on the campus of Washington and Lee on what is shaping up to be a beautiful February afternoon for baseball. The Washington and Lee Generals are looking to sweep this two-game series against the visiting Giants of Keystone after a massive eighth inning propelled them to a 9-3 win last night. You're listening to WLUR All Access, powered by First Team Broadcasting. I'm Crawford Humphreys on the call today, and I'm excited to be joined in the booth by James Laverty. And James, you missed a heck of a game and a heck of a performance by the Generals last night. What was a close game for the first 7 innings of play was blown up in the 8th inning when the Generals put 7 runs on the board in the bottom of that 8th inning. That was, of course, anchored on the other side of things by Jackson Thigpen, the senior pitcher from Potomac, Maryland, who had himself one heck of a night. 8 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 earned run, 1 walk, along with 6 strikeouts, and he held Keystone at bay for most of that game before being pulled late by Ted White, the head coach of these Generals. But a big momentum boost for this team that is undefeated to start the season. And James, you got a glimpse of those first 3 games. Tell us a little bit about what you saw early in the season from the Generals and how this is better than what we've seen in previous seasons.
Absolutely, Crawford. And one thing just to start off with the performance from Thigpen yesterday, to go 8 innings, that is a big sign in a positive direction for Thigpen, a guy who throws pretty hard but has had some struggles with command over his career. So if he can get to locating his fastball this year, he's going to have a big season. Obviously, off to a hot start, 3-0. They get the weekend sweep. But this is the 3rd in a row. They started off 4-0 in 2018, 5-0 in 2019, and then in both years lost 6 of their last 7 contests. So they're going to look to keep this momentum going, try and get a 5-0 start today.
Setting the field for the Generals today, Brian Wickman is over at first base. Jackson Gazen, the power hitter, leading off the Generals batting order, is at second. Volpicelli, as always, at shortstop. Chapin Bassi over at third base. And then in the outfield, John Raymond in left field. Zach Perkins in center. Ryan Menson in right field. The designated hitter today for the Generals is Bryce Burnett. Luke Siepel behind the plate. And on the mound, left-hander senior Carson McCoon getting the start today for the Generals. He is at a quick 1-1 count against Joe Ficara, the right fielder for Keystone, who is once again at the top of this batting order. He loops this one into right field. Right underneath it is Ryan Munson. He will put a quick first out on the board for the Generals.
Good job by Munson getting under there quickly. Carson McCoon going right at hitters, attacking early, and for a quick first out. McCoon had his first career complete game in the first game of the season they had this year. Complete game, 5 hits, 2 earned, 2 walks, 6 Ks. Looking for another one. That was in a 7-inning game, so not a full 9 innings. But McCoon looking to build off a hot start to the year. Nick
Carlini, the second baseman, hitting number 2 in this Keystone batting order. The batting average of .250. This one is hit straight to Bassi over at third base, and he is able to throw it to Wickman at first for the second out of this first inning. Carson McCoon only thrown 4 pitches so far, already got 2 outs on the board, and this Generals defense is doing exactly what it did to hold Keystone to 2 runs in yesterday's game.
Absolutely. Very sound defense so far, and when the defense is working, McCoon, a guy who likes to pitch to contact, likes to work deep in games by keeping a low pitch count. If he can trust his defense and throw to contact, he's going to have a good day today.
R.J. Goldsberry, the first baseman, the number 3 hitter in this Keystone lineup, as the first pitch of this at-bat is well outside for ball 1. Count 1-0, 2 outs on the board for Carson McCoon, who has gone to work quickly here in the top of this first inning. That pitch basically in the same spot, so 2 balls, 2-0 count for McCoon. McCoon, the senior left-hander.
Crafty guy, very crafty pitcher, can locate 3 to 4 different pitches.
That pitch a little low.
There.
So the count goes to 3-0, in danger of walking Goldsberry here, the first baseman. The delivery in that one, straight up the gut for strike 1.
Looks like he took a little off of that one just to make sure he got it in there.
McCoon battling back in this count. It's 3-1 now with 2 outs. Winds up and delivers to Goldsberry, who's going to pop this one foul over the bleachers. So a full count payoff pitch on the way here from Carson McCoon.
Just like that, locating his fastball inside, outside, even down 3-0, able to do that, and you're right back in the count.
McCoon delivers, and this one is going to be fouled in basically the same spot. Generals giving it a run, but it's going to fall just on top of the Generals' dugout. So the count will remain at 3-2 with 2 outs. And what is shaping up to be a beautiful February day here at Captain Dick Smith Field. Chilly conditions last night once the sun set for a good 4 or 5 innings. It was below sub-40 temperatures today, highs of 55. Much better baseball weather than what we saw yesterday.
And Crawford, when you think of late February, you usually don't think of baseball season, but this weather right here, baseball being played here in Florida and Arizona. Every MLB team's playing today. It's officially baseball season.
McCoon with the payoff pitch. This one is hit straight to Gazen, who bobbles it in his glove. Is a throw in time? No. And Goldsberry will be safe at first base. Gazen with some trouble containing that ball there. The throw was not in time. So a single by Goldsberry to get the offense going for the Giants. Still 2 outs on the board.
Looks like that'll probably go down as an error for Gazen, who's had a hot start to the year from the plate, but has made a couple mistakes in the field so far, looking to learn from them and as he goes forward.
Up to bat now, Adam Kelly, the left fielder.
And we're seeing in this lineup right now, Goldsberry and Kelly hitting 3 and 4 last year. Neither of them hit over 200, and neither of them had over 40 at-bats, so getting some bigger roles this year.
This one is popped straight up in the air by Kelly. Going after it is the shortstop, Volpicelli. And he will let that one fall. Looked like he lost it in the sun. A lot of sun here at Captain Dick Smith Field. He let that one fall, and he was a good 4 feet from that ball as it fell from the sky. As Gazen gives him a pat on the back and tells him to keep his head up.
If you're Gazen there, those two got to communicate there. If there's a ball in the air and Volpicelli can't see it, Gazen, that ball is on his side of the field. He's got to get in there and make that play, unless neither of them saw it. But they definitely need to work on the communication early on.
So Kelly on first, R.J. Goldsberry standing on second now, and a rare sight from the Generals defense that did so well at communicating yesterday.
Let's see if McCoon can pick up his team. He's already made 4 outs in this inning.
McCoon with that pitch there, a quick strike, so the count is 0-1 with Pedro Abreu, number 30, at the plate. Abreu, the number 5 hitter, the third baseman on this Giants roster. That throw is going to be outside by McCoon. That will even the count at 1-1.
McCoon definitely locating his fastball early on. We're seeing he's changing the eye level. He's going inside, outside, and that's why he's able to get some of these weak hits so far.
McCoon with a delivery to Abreu, and that one outside away from the batter, so the count will go to 2-1 with 2 outs.
That's a good miss for McCoon, though. It looked like he hit his spot just a little bit outside there.
McCoon taking his time here, communicating with Siepel behind the plate. And this ball by Abreu is going to be fouled straight into the net behind home plate, so the count will even at 2-2.
You can see even with 2 runners on, McCoon still looks to be in command of this game. So far, what I'm seeing from these hitters so far is they're a little off balance in where McCoon is coming in.
McCoon getting set on the mound now. The delivery, and this one is going to be hit off the end of the bat over the Generals' dugout. So the count will stay at 3-2. McCoon not worrying about Goldsberry on second. Checked him a little bit there, but has not hinted at making any throws just yet or trying to pick off any runners. Instead, gets set. Gets the signal from Siepel behind the plate. Winds up and delivers, and that one outside as well. So a full count once again for Carson McCoon on the mound.
Looks like McCoon just didn't quite have the arm slot there with the slider. Kind of let it go a little early, got a little away from him. No damage, though, there.
Payoff pitch on the way. Keystone in danger of loading the bases, and this one is going to be fouled on the right side of Captain Dick Smith Field. So the count will remain at 3-2.
Abreu making him work. Definitely making him work.
Abreu with a chance to load the base pass with Giants right now.
Definitely frustrating as a pitcher when you're hitting your spots and making your pitches, and as a batter you just keep fouling it off. Making McCoon work a little more than he probably wanted to with how this inning started. McCoon last year, one of the more accurate W&L pitchers, only 15 walks and 41 in the third innings. Went 4-3 last year with a 3.92 ERA. As he walks him there, that'll load the bases with 2 outs.
That ball by McCoon fell just low. Siepel having to bend down a little bit to pick that one up out of the dirt and keep it out of there. So 2 outs on the board, but the bases are loaded early for Keystone. Much more offensive production thanks to a couple of Generals' errors.
If you're McCoon, it's time to pick up your defense here.
And now at the plate is Brian Diaza. Diaza, the designated hitter, the number 6 hitter in this Giants lineup today. Already ahead 1-0 in this count as McCoon gets set, delivers, and that one's low and in the dirt. Siepel had to bend his knee a little bit to keep that one from going in the backstop. And this is a rather large backstop. We pointed this out in yesterday's broadcast here at Captain Dick Smith Field. Anything can happen once the ball gets back there.
You got to have a lot of confidence if you're catcher if you want to throw a curveball in the dirt there, which he did on the first pitch. Looks like he just missed a little bit inside there, but Burnett, the veteran catcher, one thing he's really known for is really a stout defense. So, and McCoon and Burnett have known each other all 4 years here. Definitely some chemistry there. There, McCoon probably gets a little more on his little more oomph on his fastball there. Keeps it right at the knees. Nothing you could do with that pitch.
That pitch called strike as McCoon attempts to fight back in what is now a 3-1 count. Another strike there, back-to-back, so the count is now full once again. This is the third straight batter where McCoon has faced a full count. And now a chance to get the Generals out of a jam here. Bases loaded for the Keystone Giants, 3-2, 2 outs, the delivery, and this one is going to get hit straight to the shortstop Volpicelli, who lets it fall out of his glove. 1 run will score for Keystone, and the bases remain loaded, and the infield struggling so far for the Generals.
Really, really tough start. That is at least the second error of the inning, third if you count the pop-up. And McCoon has not allowed any hard contact as Ted White now will come out to talk to McCoon and try and get the defense level-headed again. Tough start for the Generals.
So a very early mound conference here in the top of the first. The score is 1-0 in favor of the Keystone Giants, who were only able to put up 2 runs in yesterday's game. Now looming early on the Generals. Bases loaded after that single.
But of course, none of these runs are earned, so a little mischaracterization. Obviously, that was a tough play for Volpicelli. You had a very soft ground ball. You had Chapin coming in there making a play too, and it was going to have to be a perfect transfer and a perfect throw to get him out there. Not the start the Generals were looking for, but still very early on in this game. And I think if you're Coach Ted White out there, you're probably just trying to slow them down a little, get them out of their own heads. The team probably just made 3 mistakes on the field, and they need to get back to the basics. That's all it is.
Brian Diaz able to capitalize after that full count, the third straight full count that McCoon faced in the top of this first inning, and it leads to 1 run for the Keystone Giants, and a very uncharacteristic play by Jason Volpicelli, who had many athletic plays, was a major contributor to this Generals infield yesterday, basically the most reliable guy in the infield, arguably.
He's the shortstop. He's the captain of the infield. He's a veteran guy. He's got a great character. He's definitely a leader from my time knowing him. He not characteristic with Chapin and Volpicelli there. Another 2 of these plays here, the pop-up and the play with Chapin and Volp coming in on the same ball. Both of those are communication. It's early in the season. Those will get resolved quickly.
Manny Rojas at bat right now, the shortstop in today's game. Diaza on first, Abreu on second, and then Adam Kelly 90 feet from the second run of this game for Keystone as McCoon pitches a strike there.
And McCoon is locating his fastball well early, but right now it doesn't look like he has too much of a feel for some of his off-speed stuff, as we already see some movement over there in the Washington and Lee bullpen.
Early movement. Of course, Thigpen went 8 innings yesterday, and it took him a while to get subbed out. We didn't see bullpen action until the 6th, 7th inning, but we're already seeing it early here at Captain Dick Smith Field. Bases loaded, 2 outs, 1-2 count. The pitch from McCoon is going to be high. A little check swing there by Rojas. They're going to say he didn't go for it. Count 2-2.
And if you're Coach Ted White, one of the things is if you see McCoon and just think, you know what, maybe he doesn't have his best stuff today and we want to win this game, take him out early, and then his pitch count doesn't go as high up, and you could throw him again later on in this week. It looks like that's Mason Shuffler warming up in the bullpen. He threw 9 innings last year, had an ERA of 8, 18 hits over those 9 innings, and 8 earned runs for an 0-1 win-loss record.
Another full count there from McCoon, who is able to capitalize this time around.
Got him to chase.
The Giants strand 3 and the Generals only allow 1 run despite the bases being loaded twice. The score is 1-0. We'll be back with the bottom of the first inning when we return here on WR All Access. Crawford Humphreys and James Laverty back here live from Captain Dick Smith Field on WR All Access. The score is 1-0 here as we head to the bottom of the first. But before we get going with the baseball action, of course, we have to thank the Washington and Lee University Store, owned and operated by W&L. The University Store is located right on campus in Elrod Commons. The store features a wide range of apparel celebrating W&L, including the Peter Millar Collegiate Collection, offering polos and sweaters for your game day style. If you're looking for workout gear, we have a variety of performance apparel from Nike and Under Armour. Of course, all proceeds go back to the Washington Lee community, helping to fund athletic, alumni, and student programs. The store is open 7 days a week. Order online anytime at store.wlu.edu. Well, James, it took 4 full counts for Carson McCoon to finally get out of that inning after 2 early outs.
Oh, yeah.
We saw a lot of miscommunication within the infield. The Generals getting lucky, only allowing 1 run despite the bases being loaded twice. What did you see from the Generals in the top of the first? It just seemed like a tale of two cities between that and what we saw yesterday.
You know, he looked like he was going to get out of that inning with just 7 pitches, then the error by Gazin, then another miscommunication on the pop-up, then an error by Volpicelli on what was arguably a very tough play to make. But kind of uncharacteristic. McCoon looked like, as he started off really hot, but once there was a couple errors, it probably got to his head just a little bit. I know Carson's a very, very tough guy, but he kind of faltered a little after he had to throw some more pitches, started missing spots, but they were able to get out of it. Big strikeout, hit the fastball location on that last pitch. Now only down by 1. Now you have Jackson Gazin leading off this inning. He started off 11 for 15 to start the season. His speed is something that has really been crucial to this Generals team, stealing 7 bases so far. And he's a guy that, if he hits a little nibbler, odds are, with a Division III defense, he's probably going to beat it out. So look for Gazin to stay hot here and try and spark the Generals to tie this game up.
Setting the defense here for Keystone, R.J. Goldsberry at first, Nick Carlini at second, Manny Rojas at shortstop, Pedro Abreu at third base, and then the outfield, Adam Kelly in left field. And that ball was hit immediately by Gazin. He hit that one straight to Carlini over at second base for the first out. Gazin, like you said, coming in aggressive, swinging at the first pitch he saw from Nathan Hinckley, the right-handed junior pitcher who gets the start save for the Giants. He is throwing to Julio Acosta behind the plate. Adam Kelly in left, Chris Amarati in center, Joe Fakera in right field, and Brian De Aza, the designated hitter, is Zach Perkins, the center fielder, now up to bat for the Generals. And the first pitch from Hinckley is outside for ball 1.
And you know, baseball's a game of weird luck. Gazin had a couple hits early on in the season, a couple dribblers that probably didn't hit hard enough to really count as a hit. Some were errors that got called hits. But right there, he hit that ball as hard as he could have. But that one just goes down as 0 for 1.
Another ball hit straight to Carlini, this time on the ground, and a quick toss over to Goldsberry for out number 2. So 2 up, 2 down so far for the Giants, and Hinckley getting a lot of help from his infield early.
And right now, this inning started just the same way as it did for Carson McCoon. And we'll see if the Generals can put it out together, a little 2-out rally. Here's Jason Volpicelli, hit about 340 last season. Him and Munson are probably the Generals' top 2 hitters. Not fun to pitch against.
Volpicelli, the shortstop, the number 3 hitter on this Generals lineup. Comes in today's game batting .250, 4 runs, 5 RBIs during this hot 4-0 start for the Generals. The first pitch from Hinckley is called ball, so the count is 1-0, 2 outs quick for the Generals, who have been silenced so far by Hinckley's pitching in this Giants infield.
Volpicelli, a very, very good fastball hitter, and I think Hinckley knows that there. First pitch he threw, curveball in the dirt. Second pitch nowhere near the plate, so he's thrown around Volpicelli. Probably has the right scouting report on him.
Count is 2-0 with 2 outs. Hinckley delivers, and that one's going to be low, so the count will quickly go 3-0 in favor of Volpicelli.
If you're going to miss versus Volpicelli, you got to miss low, because if you miss high, he's going to make you pay.
Quick 1-2 punch here from the Generals. Volpicelli batting right now, right after him, Ryan Munson.
3-1 now. You wonder if they give him the green light. One of the better hitters on the team. You know he knows what to do. He gets that one pitch, one spot. He can let it rip, maybe get a man in scoring position with 2 outs.
2 outs, count is 3-1. The delivery to Volpicelli is going to be just inside the strike zone, so the full count now for Hinckley. Payoff pitch on the way and a chance to get out of this inning with no damage done by the Generals. Hinckley taking his time here, communicating with Acosta. Getting set on the mound. He winds up and delivers, and that ball is going to be hit into left field right at Adam Kelly by Volpicelli. And Kelly somehow able to get under that one, beating the sun that seemed to blind a couple of Generals infielders earlier in this game.
Kelly took a very, very weird route to that ball. He's lucky that that ball didn't get by him the way he played it. Looks like they get away with one there as it's 1-0 still. Quick inning.
Generals are silenced early by the Giants. So the score is 1-0 after one full inning here at Captain Dick Smith Field. And James, we have seen a completely different Generals team, especially on defense, than what we saw yesterday. Now the offense, a little bit of a different story. It took them 7 innings to score 2 runs yesterday. However, that 8th inning where they scored 7 runs, what propelled them to that win. We're kind of seeing the same thing today, but we'll definitely be interested to see what Ted White told these guys in between innings.
Well, Crawford, it's the first inning of 9, so obviously a long, long ways to go in them. Obviously, the Generals didn't look like themselves in that first inning, but the fact that you can get out of that just down 1-0, it's time to go out there, reset themselves, see if McCoon starts to find some of his off-speed pitches. He's got his fastball working today. That's a good sign. Look, the bats are going to warm up. Volpicelli hit one hard on a 3-2 count. Jackson hit one hard. The Generals in that inning had more hard-hit balls than Keystone. It's just a matter of luck. Sometimes baseball, you got a lot of weird luck in this game. It's only 1-0 right now. I think we're going to look at the same Generals team that we saw yesterday.
Carson McCoon back on the mound, warming up and leading things off here for the Keystone Giants is Julio Acosta.
In the bottom of the lineup, I'll be interested to see if McCoon probably has his fastball going if he tries to just pound through and get through them quickly before getting back to the top of the order later on in this inning.
Acosta, the catcher, and the number 8 hitter in this Generals lineup. And that ball is going to get hit in the gap between center and right field. Going after it is Ryan Munson, and that will...
Interesting throw behind there.
And that
don't see that every day.
Result in a single, leadoff single here to start this second inning by Acosta.
Tough luck right now if you're Carson McCoon. It's got to be, as a pitcher right now, you got to be frustrated with that. A couple errors in the first inning right there. He locates the fastball in on his hands, and he just bloops it right over the head of Gaze, and nothing you can do there. The Keystone Giants have not yet hit a very hard ball off Carson McCoon yet. He's not getting great luck so far, but I think you can only get so much bad luck in one game. I think he'll be all right so far.
McCoon now pitching to Chris Amarati, who is the number 9 hitter in this Giants lineup.
McCoon looks like he threw a two-seamer there. That ball had a little bit of movement there at the end.
Amarati, the center fielder, with Acosta standing at first. That ball fell right perfectly in the gap between Zach Perkins and Ryan Munson, and Munson gave it chase and was able to cut Acosta off in time before he could turn 2. Meanwhile, McCoon going to work here on Amarati with a quick 0-2 count.
See here, it'll be interesting to see if he tries to get him to chase to strike out or go something off-speed low in the zone where he could either get a third strike or hopefully a ground ball to either Volpicelli in turn 2.
McCoon winds up, delivers that one inside. They're going to say he went after it, though. A little check swing. And 3 strikes. That's the first out of the inning, the first strikeout.
Amarati didn't like it, but he definitely had some bite on that slider. He threw it exactly where he wanted to. Not much you can do with that pitch. With McCoon, when that arm angle's going, it looks like a fastball right up until the last second, and then that hard bite down, not much you can do if you're a hitter. That'll bring up Joe Vacchera, who had a fly out to right his last time up. It was a bit of a pop-up to Munson.
And a correction there. That was McCoon's second strikeout of the game so far. He's only walked 1 and allowed 3 hits so far in today's game.
I like what I'm seeing from McCoon so far. A lot of times when you have guys who are, and that could be 2.
Yeah, this one's going to be chopped by Vacchera, and the Generals unable to turn 2.
That was probably hit a little too soft and a little too in the gap to turn 2 on it. Not much you could do there, but they get the lead runner. They get another out, and honestly, I think I like what I'm seeing from McCoon so far today. And as I was saying earlier, a lot of times when you have guys who are crafty lefties, it takes them an inning or 2 to find all their pitches, and I think McCoon's got his slider working. He's got his fastball working. His two-seamer had some really nice movement we've seen so far, and his changeup right there was able to induce what almost could have been a double play had he hit it a little bit harder.
Vacchera hit that one straight to Volpicelli. He was able to get it to Gazin in time. Gazin unable to make the play at first. However, the lead runner, like you said, is out. So now just 1 runner on, and Nick Carlini up to bat.
And 2 outs now. This is where all the trouble started in the first inning. Let's see if McCoon can close it out here, get the Generals back in the dugout to bring the bats up.
2 outs, 0-1 count to Carlini. McCoon delivers that one outside the strike zone, so the count will even at 1-1.
Just missed with the slider a little up there. He gets his fingers a little more out in front of that, and that's a really, really nice pitch. But obviously when you're a pitcher like that, those are the things you work out in the early innings. And then as the game goes on, a lot of guys like McCoon get stronger and stronger. That's why we saw McCoon in that game where he threw a complete game. He honestly looked like a better pitcher in the 6th and 7th inning than he did early on. So hopefully McCoon can repeat that trend today.
That ball fouled over the net behind home plate by Carlini. So the count is 1-2, 2 outs, 1-0. Still the score here at Captain Dick Smith Field. McCoon looking to keep it that way with a runner on first. This one once again chopped on the third base line. It is fumbled by Chapin Bassey. So runners now on first and second. Another infield error by the Generals, and it now puts a runner in scoring position for the Giants.
Chapin having a little rough start over there. Obviously, that error right there, which would have ended the inning. And earlier in the game on a ball that either should have been his or should have been Volp's, some miscommunication that led to another out not happening. So McCoon not getting the luck that he wants to early on in this game. He's the veteran pitcher. He's been here before. Let's see if he toughs it out, picks up his defense, and be the leader that his team needs. Wow. That's a nice pitch right there. Took a little off the curveball, got it in, outside corner. That's a tough pitch to hit. Just barely nicks the outside of the zone. So McCoon, I think he's got his good stuff today, and the Generals are going to need it if their defense keeps playing like this.
That pitch was to R.J. Goldsberry, who swings and misses, falls to his knees there, swung out of his shoes. The count quickly 0-2 with 2 outs. Runners on first and second. Goldsberry, the first baseman, the number 3 hitter. The Giants have hit the meat of their lineup.
Looked like Reggie Jackson there, swinging out of his shoes.
This one is going to be hit straight to Volpicelli on the ground. Does he make the throw in time? He does.
How do you like that?
Brian Wickman having to make a little bit of a split there to catch that ball. He does. So the Generals keep the Giants at bay. The score is still 1-0. We'll be back with the bottom of the second inning here on WR All Access. We are back here on WR All Access. Crawford Humphreys and James Laverty in the booth today for the second leg of this 2-game series between the Generals of Washington and Lee and the Giants of Keystone. It's currently a 1-0 lead for Keystone, who has turned things around after that tough 9-2 loss in yesterday's game. Leading things off here in the bottom of the second inning is Ryan Munson, who comes in with a .273 batting average, 4 runs, 2 RBIs, and he is going to pop this one up behind home plate, and it's going to fall foul over the fence behind home plate.
Munson led the Generals last year in batting average with a .361 average. He was an all-ODAC player, one of the better players on this team. I think he's in a good spot right here to get the Generals to lead off. You have a righty who doesn't throw too hard versus Munson, loves hitting off right-handed pitchers. I could see him pulling one in the gap right here.
Nathan Hinckley still on the mound here for the Giants, the senior left-hander.
Hinckley, a really, really quick first inning. I think he threw under 10 pitches in that inning.
9 pitches is the official pitch count for him, as he delivers the second pitch of this at-bat to Munson. That one's going to be low for ball 1.
Just a bit inside there. Munson, a very good eye to lay off that one. An off-speed pitch like that inside, all you can really do with it is hit a very hard line drive, but foul.
That one is going to be hit by Munson over to the second baseman, Carlini, who was able to get it to first base in time. Looks like he had a little trouble scooping that one up. Still able to make the throw to Goldsberry over at first.
Well, he hit that ball hard, but once again, they hit it right at somebody. The Generals have 3 hard hits in this game. I think that's more than the Giants do. So I think eventually this evens out, and the Generals get something going. You can't hit the ball. You can't be consistently 3 out of 4 at bats hitting the ball hard against this pitcher. Something's going to break through for the Generals soon.
Munson out at first base. Bryce Burnett now batting for the Generals. He had a solid game yesterday, batting 167 with 3 runs so far on the season, facing Hinckley, who is moving through the Generals' batting order.
And Hinckley mixing it up a little. Not the hardest throwing guy. That's the 3rd at-bat out of 5 at-bats that he started with an off-speed pitch.
That one is going to be hit by Burnett straight to the shortstop, Rojas, who is able to make the throw once again at first base. Giants infield clicking on all cylinders, and that's 2 quick outs for the Giants.
And Hinckley just throwing a contact. Some hard contact, but right at guys. He's gaining some confidence early on as he goes through the Generals lineup this first time around. Ziepel with some classic music there for a walk-up. Interesting stuff.
Ziepel at the plate now facing Hinckley, already ready to deliver, and that one is going to be hit over the head of R.J. Goldsberry at first. Fakera picking it up in right field, but that's a single to get things going by Ziepel.
How do you like that? That's the first hit of the day.
Generals starting to get things going here with their backs against the wall in the bottom of the 2nd inning. 2 outs on the board after a couple of solid infield plays by Keystone. Brian Wickman now up to bat.
That'll bring up Brian Wickman hitting 190 on the year so far. Wickman, now the Generals starting first baseman. He came in as a freshman playing catcher, but it looks like he's going to get his playing time being the first baseman for the Generals. As Ziepel just gets back in there, taking a little pretty big lead off there. Good move. Not much of a chance to get him. Ziepel had to dive back.
Wickman, the first baseman, the number 7 hitter in this Generals batting order, 4 RBIs on the season. As Hinckley tries to get out of yet another inning without any damage done by the Generals. He delivers to Wickman. That one's in the dirt. Good job there by Acosta of blocking that one off of his leg and preventing that one from going to that large backstop.
Good curveball. So far we've seen Acosta being pretty much a 2-pitch pitcher. A fastball that's not too hard, but a curveball that he's located pretty well early on, kept low in the zone when he misses. He misses low outside of the one he threw to Ziepel. And so far that's why we've only had 1 hit for the Generals early on. Wickman last year was a .230 hitter. Only played in 7 games, started 5 of them in 13 at-bats. He had 3 hits, all singles, and scored 4 runs.
Wickman back in the box, getting set here. A 1-0 count with 2 outs after Hinckley had to check Luke Ziepel over at first a few times. He delivers. And Wickman getting out of the way at that pitch. That one way inside. So the count now 2-0 with 2 outs.
Very confident pitcher right now. Not afraid to throw his fastball inside. Wickman going to look for a pitch he can as he gets back in there. Wickman, 2-0 count, going to look for a pitch he can drive, try and get a 2-out rally going.
Hinckley diligently checking Ziepel over at first base. Kind of throwing Wickman out of his rhythm here. He's trying to get set in the batter's box.
Interesting move. Ziepel doing a good job of distracting Hinckley right there as he deals a strike for a 2-1 count. Distracting Hinckley. Ziepel's not a fast guy. He's not a guy that steals a lot of bases. But he's doing enough to take a lead off there that he can take some of the focus off of the batter, which oftentimes we've seen a lot over the course of baseball leads to a mistake. As he throws over again, I don't know what he's doing. He probably doesn't realize that Ziepel's a catcher. Let's see, how many bases did Luke Ziepel steal last year? I believe that number is around 0.
Ziepel, that might be the 6th or 7th throw we've seen this at-bat over to first base.
You know what? I'm willing to wager right here that he's probably going to leave a fastball or 2 up in the zone in the rest of this at-bat to Wickman.
That last pitch by Hinckley was right down the barrel. 2-1 count, 2 outs. That pitch straight down the middle again, but a little low. So a count now 3-1 in favor of Wickman, who's looking to put a runner in scoring position for the Generals as they are still down a run here in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Wickman awaits the pitch from Hinckley, and he is going to get a hold of that one, but he will foul it over the Keystone dugout.
Wickman just timing off just a little bit. That pitch was up and middle. That's a good pitch to hit if you're Wickman right there. But one of the things, he's throwing slower than some D3 pitchers do. And so the Generals' timing, they look a little off right now. They're pulling a lot of balls. They're pulling it hard. So if they can loosen up, get back, think about hitting the ball to the right center field, I think they're going to open up on offense sooner rather than later.
Hinckley delivers as Ziepel takes off towards second base. It won't matter That is ball 4, so now 2 runners on the base pass for the Generals.
Hinckley must have heard me because he definitely got his velocity up a little on that pitch.
And Seipel now at second, runner in scoring position for the Generals. Dangerous territory here. Chapin Bassey now up to bat, the number 8 hitter, the third baseman, and the starting lineup for the Generals today.
Chapin Bassey playing in what I believe is just his 4th game as a General. Doesn't have much on the stat sheet so far, but he is his big thing is he's a talented hitter. He hit .550 in Class A New Hampshire as a senior in high school. This is his first year competing for the Generals. He's got quite the story. Chapin was cut from freshman tryouts as a freshman in the fall of 2017. He's going to try out again in the fall of 2018, tears his ACL that summer playing basketball, misses a year of school, then comes back fall of 2019, makes the team. Now he's the starting third baseman.
Bassey awaiting the pitch here. Heck of a story. 0-1 the count. Narrowly avoids getting hit by that pitch, so the count will even at 1-1. 2 outs, 2 runners on for the Generals. Generals looking to get their first strike of the day here in the bottom of this second inning. Runners on first and second. Seipel taking a generous lead over at second base as Bassey, 2 RBIs on the season, batting .215. Awaits the delivery from Hinckley. He is going to chop this one over to third base, and it is going to fall fair. Looked like the third baseman, Abreu, was hoping it would fall foul.
Looks like they're going to call it foul. I think they called it foul at the last second there as the runners are going back. If that ball had gotten fair, which was very, very close, that would have been trouble. That was definitely a tie game. He could have had runners on second and third there with the way that ball was hit. But Bassey will be back in the box.
Abreu with a good eye there, not giving chase to that ball. So that ball will fall foul. The count will go 1-2 with 2 outs. General's third base coach was still waving everyone home.
He thought, I think Coach Cohen thought that ball might have been fair, and you had to think it was just in case, because if it is fair, everyone's running with 2 outs.
A very late call, so Bassey will go back to home plate, get himself set. The pitch from Hinckley
Did he go?
Is well outside. They're going to say he went after it, and he will be thrown out at first base. Acosta, good heads-up play and gets the ball to Goldsberry in time. So the Generals strand a runner in scoring position. The score is still 1-0 after 2 innings of play here at Captain Dick Smith Field. We'll be right back on WLUR All Access. Crawford Humphreys and James Laverty back here on WLUR All Access, bringing you coverage of the second leg of this doubleheader between the Washington and Lee Generals and the Giants of Keystone. Leading things off to kick this third inning off is Adam Kelly, number 31, and Adam Kelly is the number 4 hitter on this Giants lineup today. He's had 1 at-bat and 1 hit so far in today's game. McCoon, the left-handed senior, is back on the mound for the Generals. And Kelly will hit the first pitch he sees looks at, and that one is way back and way gone by Kelly. A massive home run shot, a solo homer there. The first pitch he looked at, way over the left field fence. Now will make the score 2-0 here for Keystone. McCoon trying to wrap his head around that one.
Yeah, it looks like he just left a first pitch fastball up in the zone. Kelly attacked it, hit that very, very hard. A kind of a shallow line drive that went right up and over the 370 sign. That ball probably went about 385, 390 feet. He got a ride on that one, and now it's 2-0.
Up to bat now is Pedro Abreu, the number 5 hitter in this lineup. Abreu playing third base today for the Giants. The count is 0-1 after the strike from McCoon. But McCoon still trying to get himself set after that leadoff home run by Adam Kelly.
That was the first home run of Adam Kelly's career. A good moment for him there as his team goes up 2-0. And the dugout was pumped as he saw everyone in there kind of climbed out of the dugout. Standing ovation for him there.
McCoon delivers, and he's going to chop that one foul on the third baseline. So the count will go to 1-2.
An interesting blip for McCoon, as so far in this game, we've seen this Giants team hit a lot of soft ground balls towards the left side of the infield or pulling it, whether it's a lefty or a righty. That one was honestly, that was their first really hard hit of the game, and boy was it a hard one. It got out. Doubled the lead, 2-0 for the Giants.
McCoon delivers, and he caught Pedro Abreu swinging on that one for strike 3. So that will go down as the third strikeout of McCoon's outing thus far. Puts a crucial first out on the board here in the top of the third for the Generals, who are just looking to stop the bleeding after that leadoff solo shot from Adam Kelly. Now the number 6 hitter, Brian DeAza, the designated hitter, up to bat facing McCoon, and McCoon is going to leave that ball a little bit on the outside, so the count will go 1-0.
McCoon, honestly, he did something really, really interesting. I don't know if you picked up on that on the curveball that he struck him out with. He did a little bit of pause, took a little before he threw it, took a little off it, and got more 12-6 movement. Honestly, it looked like he was trying to imitate Clayton Kershaw with the way he threw that last curveball for the strikeout.
McCoon working slowly and methodically off the mound here. That ball will go straight down the middle for a strike, and the count is 1-2 now on Brian DeAza, who has one at-bat, one hit as well so far in today's game for the Giants.
McCoon, a lot of confidence right now where he wants to throw his fastball and where he wants to throw his curveball. I think what probably happened on that home run was with the Giants not making any hard contact up against him so far. Probably got a little overconfident, threw that first pitch right down there, and Kelly got ahead on it for a 2-0 lead.
And a big swing and a miss there by DeAza, who strikes out. Back-to-back strikeouts now after the initial home run. That'll be the 4th strikeout of McCoon's outing thus far, 2 in the top of this third inning. And McCoon not letting that home run face him, getting to work quickly here, working against these Giants batters, as that one is going to be close to Manny Rojas. He has to duck out of the way at that one, so the count will go 1-0.
If there's anything that could truly test the character and the toughness of a veteran pitcher, it's how you react after giving up a home run like that. McCoon didn't let it get to him. 2 strikeouts, and right there, the 6-3 right out of this inning.
Rojas grounded that one straight to Volpicelli, who was able to get it over to Wickman at first base for the 3rd out of that inning. So despite the initial home run, McCoon staying steady and strikes it and gets out the next 3 subsequent batters for the Giants. So the score now 2-0, but the Generals doing a good job on defense. We'll see if the offense can balance that out when we are back with the bottom of the 3rd here at Captain Dick Smith Field. Crawford Humphreys, James Laverty back on WRL Access. The score is 2-0 after a home run from Adam Kelly in the top of that 3rd inning. The Generals now looking to respond with a little run of their own. And what did you see in the top of that 3rd inning that you wanted to point out?
You know what, McCoon, he made one bad pitch in that inning, but he made up for it really quickly. He responded well, and he honestly looked really, really good, getting 2 strikeouts and the quick ground ball out. And you have to remember, that result that he had in that inning, just that one mistake, was the same result, 1 run, as that first inning with 3 different errors. So the Generals, they're still very much alive in this thing. Remember, they scored 9 runs yesterday. I don't think 2 runs early on is going to face this Generals team at all.
Hinckley back on the mound for another inning of work. That one going straight past the cost of the catcher and bouncing into this backstop here at Captain Dick Smith Field. Doesn't matter, no runners on the base paths, but John Raymond at bat for the Generals, pinch hitting. He's batting 125 this season with 3 runs, and he will watch that ball sail out of the strike zone for ball 2.
Raymond, an interesting player for the Generals. He's a two-way player. Started the weekend, got some time out in the outfield, and scored a couple runs. But he played really well in the range-shortened game.
That one hit straight by Raymond to the third baseman, Abreu, and he is going to try and turn 2 after Abreu sails that one over the head of Goldsberry. And excuse me, Raymond not pinch hitting right now. He is the starter in left field, but he is able to make turn 2 out of that one, and a big error by Keystone, something we haven't seen thus far, but it puts a runner in scoring position for the Generals, and perfect timing, Jackson Gazin walks up to bat.
Absolutely, and we just saw what speed will do for a guy like John Raymond. Ball not hit hard as a lot of these other outs the Generals made, turns that into a double there. Now you have Gazin, who's probably the fastest guy on this team to lead off. He's had a great hot start to this season. And as I was saying earlier about John Raymond, who just starts off this inning with, even though it's an error, it looks like a leadoff double if you're the Generals. Raymond threw really well in that game against SVU. They got range short, and he threw 4 innings, didn't allow a run, was throwing really hard, locating all his stuff. Raymond's a guy to look for. He might end up making the case for himself to become one of the starting pitchers early on in his Generals career.
Hinckley loses that one low and outside, so the count is 1-0 for Gazin, the number 1 hitter on this Generals lineup. Raymond taking a lead over at second base with what could potentially be the first score of this game for the Generals. That second pitch, a strike, so the count will go 1-1 against Gazin. Gazin hitting here. Perkins, the center fielder, on deck.
Gazin in his first at-bat hit a screeching line drive to start off the game, but it was right at the second baseman for an out. Gazin seeing for the first time what bad luck looks like. He saw a lot of good luck in the beginning of that weekend.
Third pitch of this at-bat on the way to Gazin, and Gazin called time right as Hinckley was about to release that ball.
Don't love to see that. If you're a pitcher, that angers you. That definitely angers you if you're a pitcher. I could see Hinckley's probably not happy with what he did there. Gazin playing mind games out there.
Gazin doing a good job thus far, keeping this at-bat alive. It is a 1-1 count, no outs. Raymond on second for the Generals, and this one is going to be hit into right field by Gazin. He's going to try and turn 2 out of it. Instead halts his horses and goes back to first base, but Raymond will score from second. The first run of the day from the Generals, and the score is now 2-1. On cue, Gazin doing what he does best, a big power hit into right field. Fakara giving it chase and throwing it back into the infield. It will be a single, but an RBI single.
Gazin
the
a
score
hitter.
is 2-1 with no outs here in the bottom of the third.
Gazin a hitter that does a great job keeping his hands in. If you let an off-speed pitch go on the inside of the zone, there's no way that Jackson isn't going to keep his hands in and hit that ball very hard to the right side of the infield. Now, Jackson, who leads the team in stolen bases, let's keep an eye on him over at first base.
Zach Perkins, the center fielder, up to bat, and he will swing at the first pitch he looks at. This one in the gap between center and right field. Rounding second and now rounding third is Jackson Gazin. Perkins is going to make it a triple, and a RBI triple that will score Jackson Gazin. Perkins using his wheels to get around the base path after a big hit in the gap between center and right field. And just like that, we are all tied up with no outs here at Captain Dick Smith Field.
Crawford, just 2 minutes ago, we were talking about how this Generals offense couldn't get anything going, and they looked dead in their heels. Right now, I'd say all the momentum is with the Washington and Lee team. 2 big hits right there. Boy, did Perkins get a hold on that one. He hit that one. He gets a triple there. Gazin, if we saw, he paused at second base for a long period of time, still able to score from first. We saw there was a lot of speed going on the base pass right there, and it's big for the Generals. As this game is tied, and you have a guy on third, no outs, contact right now probably gives the Generals a lead.
And Volpicelli, the next batter up for the Generals, will hit the first pitch he looks at. It drops right in front of Kelly, the left fielder, and another RBI, this time a single from Jason Volpicelli, the shortstop. That one will score. Zach Perkins, the center fielder from third, a quick 90-foot trot for him as that ball dropped in the outfield. And just like that, it only took 1 inning, and the Generals have the lead with no outs on the board or runner on. And Hinckley, his job is not being made any easier by the fact that he is just now hitting the meat of this Generals lineup with Ryan Munson now up to bat.
And one thing I'm seeing in that first time around the lineup, they were hitting the ball hard, but they were getting around on it. They were pulling the ball. They were a little early on it, and it caused a lot of outs early on and hitting it where guys were. This looks like this second time through the order, Gazen starting it with the base hit. They got their timing back, and now they're lighting up Hinckley. I wouldn't be surprised if that trend continues.
Hinckley checking Volpicelli over at first base. Munson getting set here. Clean count, no outs on the board. And Hinckley's going to do what he normally does and check that runner over at first. We saw it with Luke Seipel earlier where he made 6 or 7 throws over to Goldberry, his first baseman. Once again, doing the same thing here with Volpicelli taking a sizable lead over at first base. Munson getting set here. First pitch of this at-bat is not on the way. Instead, he will check Volpicelli once again. So a pitch still has not been thrown to Ryan Munson.
What's interesting is he threw the ball about 6 to 7 times when Seipel's on first base. It's thrown already over twice with Volpicelli. Volpicelli guy steals a little more than Seipel, but not much more. When Gazen was on first base, he didn't give him a single look. Gazen basically had a walking lead on the hit and run play.
Questionable decision by Hinckley as he gets set to deliver the first pitch of this at-bat to Ryan Munson, and that one is going to be well outside. Acosta caught that one quickly and stood up anticipating a steal from Volpicelli. Volpicelli instead retreating back to first base. So the count is 1-0 for Ryan Munson.
Hinckley starting to lose command a little here. Obviously, he hasn't had to work this much early on in the game. He's working out of the stretch for one of the first times in the game, and he's paying a lot of attention to the runners. If you're a pitcher, you got to be able to compartmentalize those two things, and so far, Hinckley has not been able to do that.
Second pitch of the at-bat is low and inside for Hinckley. And Hinckley getting set back on the mound. The delivery to Munson is outside. So the count now 3-0.
Be interesting to see if they do think about giving him the green light here. Probably not on 3-0. I'd say they do it on 3-1, but Munson, a veteran hitter, I think if he likes his pitch, I think there's a chance. It looks like Cohen just gave him the sign to hold.
3-0 is the count. No outs. Runner on first. Giants once again in danger of putting a Generals runner in scoring position.
Nicks the outside corner there. Good pitch there. We're going to need 2 more of those.
Hinckley fighting back in this lineup. In this count. It is now 3-1.
Dangerous spot. Probably the Generals' best hitter. Led the team in average last year with a .361 average. Going to be a good.
Munson gets set, but not before Hinckley makes another throw to check Volpicelli over at first base.
See, I don't see why he's doing that. It's a 3-1 count. That's not a stealing count. He didn't have a big lead there. And all he's doing now is distracting himself. You have a 3-1 count with no outs against the Generals' best hitter, and you're focused on the runner on first base. That's troublesome. Munson looking for a good pitch to hit here.
Munson gets ready. I'm sure he has the green light, and he's ready to swing out of shoes on this one. He does. That one is going to be popped into center field. Giving it chase is Chris Amarati. And he will fall directly under that one. The sun not giving him any trouble, and the first out will be on the board for the Generals. Volpicelli stays at first base, and Bryce Burnett now up to bat for this Washington and Lee team.
The ball came fast off of Munson's bat. He hit it well. It was a good count, but he just got under it. And it looks like Hinckley probably had just a little bit of movement on that pitch that induced the high flyout. And that'll bring up Burnett. Burnett, strong hitter here.
Burnett with a solid game yesterday. In the first game of this 2-game series against Keystone, had a big double that set up the second run of the game for the Generals. It would eventually become 9 runs, but at the time, a big run there that set the Generals apart in that game. He now faces Hinckley with 1 out and Volpicelli on first base. The Generals looking to continue their run. It's already been a 3-run third inning and just 1 out on the board. We'll see what happens
What's
here.
Ted White doing here?
Ted White comes out to discuss things with the home plate umpire. It looks like
the bat.
Burnett is going to exchange his bat.
Be interesting to see what that was about. Was there questions about the legality of the bat, or did Burnett maybe want to use a different bat for this account?
Maybe grabbed the wrong bat on the way out.
That happens.
So Burnett now getting set here.
Let's see how he likes the new bat
against Hinckley.
This bat begins.
Definitely interesting to see as Volpicelli takes a little bit of a lead over at first base. Hinckley not turning his attention toward that, instead delivers to Burnett, and this one is going to be hit high and hard And it will be over the fence, but it's going to fall foul. That one was hammered by Burnett. I'm sure. I think he likes the bat. I think that was what made the difference.
I think it's safe to say Burnett is okay with the new bat. No complaints there. But you know what? All that is strike one, unfortunately, if you're Hinckley. If you got to look at it positively. He hit that ball a long ways. Probably would have been a home run if it had been fair. But on a ball that inside, there's only so much you could keep your hands in to try and keep it fair. Probably, if you hit that ball fair, it's probably more of a pop-up to left field with the way the pitch was. So a good pitch there by Hinckley, despite the very hard contact.
Hinckley once again taking Volpicelli over at first base. He's been taking pretty generous leads over on that side of things. 3-2, still your score here for those just joining us at Captain Dick Smith Field. 1 out. The count is 0-1 for Bryce Burnett, who just hammered a foul ball over the back fence, just falling to the left side of that foul post.
We see Hinckley's velocity is dropping a little bit in this inning as he's had to throw by far the most pitches of any inning that he's had to work so far, and working out of the stretch consistently for the first time in this ballgame. Burnett last year, a .280 hitter, led all catchers in batting average. Obviously, the Generals had 3 or 4 different catchers. They would kind of swap in and out last year, and Burnett was the most consistent hitter out of all of them, also known for his defense. That's why he gets so many of these starts. Burnett, 8 doubles last year, 43 total bases, 20 RBIs with a .350 slugging percentage. Looking to pad those numbers here.
And Burnett got some solid playing time yesterday as catcher, was the official catcher in the starting lineup today. Ted White has elected to move him to the designated hitter position after seeing the power he put on that last foul ball. Seems like an obvious choice.
Good choice, Ted. Again. Oh, my. Honestly, if I'm the pitching coach over there in the Keystone Giants dugouts, I'm probably getting a little frustrated with Hinckley right now with the amount that he's focusing on these base runners when you need to get outs. You've only made 1 out in this inning.
That ball is going to be fouled over the press box by Burnett. Actually
right
hit our roof, so the count will go.
I've always wanted to get a foul ball, Crawford. Looks like we're not going to get the chance here.
Which had just fallen through the ceiling.
Oh, man.
Had enough power.
I think we got to just open up this window.
The count is 1-2 for Burnett with 1 out. Volpicelli remaining on first base. And despite Hinckley giving up 3 runs so far in the bottom of this third inning, there is no action in the Keystone bullpen. Looks like they are confident with Hinckley right now.
On that same note, when there was action in the Generals bullpen early on in this game, that has quieted down. I see Mason Shuffler down there. Hasn't thrown a pitch in the bullpen since that first inning. So it looks like Coach White has got some confidence in McCune to go later on into this game.
And McCune has definitely proven himself as that one is hit foul down the first baseline by Burnett.
Interesting swing by Burnett there. Kind of inside pitch, kind of inside out of that one to right field. That almost could have been a double if that had been fair and under the glove.
Definitely did not look like a natural motion there for Burnett. Volpicelli took off immediately, but retreats back to first base as Hinckley gets set. The right-handed junior from Keystone. And we'll once again check Volpicelli over at first base. Volpicelli on all fours there, scrambling to get back.
Volpicelli, honestly, he looks like he's starting to have some fun over there. I think Volpicelli knows that he's getting in Hinckley's head, and that's exactly what he's trying to do, is distract him from the at-bat with Burnett.
Definitely taking a bigger lead than what we've seen before, and he will have to slide back once again.
You know, if I'm the coach over there, I might as well just put this in the pitch count. He's thrown over there so much.
The official pitch count for Hinckley right now is 39. He's allowed 5 hits, 3 runs. All of those runs are earned runs. And a big swing and a miss there by Burnett. And a much-needed strikeout there for Hinckley to put the second out on the board here for the Generals.
Good job executing the slider there. Threw it very hard, started it right above Burnett's knees, broke at the last moment. Good executed pitch there. Not too much you could do with Burnett. Now Seipel, who had the first hit for the Generals earlier on, he had a screeching line drive to right field. We'll try and start something up with 2 outs to extend the Generals' lead here in the bottom of the third.
Seipel with the hit in his 1 at-bat of today's game. And the number 6 hitter playing catcher for Washington and Lee today. He'll let that ball sail out of the strike zone, and the count is 1-0. 2 outs on the board, though. Hinckley has done a good job of calming the Generals down after that hot 3-run start to get things going in the bottom of the third. Hinckley set, and once again we'll check Volpicelli, who has been at first for what seems like an eternity at this point.
A very, very interesting shift that I'm looking at in the outfield right here. The center fielder saw that he pulled the ball the first time. Left fielder not moving over with him. probably a little miscommunication out there. He should be moving over more towards left center, especially a guy like Ziepel. I've seen him in batting practice, loves to hit the ball to that left center field gap. So if he gets the right pitch, that could be trouble.
Keystone creating a massive gap in their outfield. We'll see if Ziepel can capitalize. Instead, he ropes this one the other way. And a diving catch in right field by Joe Vaquero will be the third out of the inning for Keystone. An acrobatic one there. Held up his glove to show the umpire that he did, in fact, catch it. So the Generals are able to strike and take the lead in this one. 3-1 is your score after 3 innings. However, they were quieted quickly by Nathan Hinckley and this Keystone defense. And James, Generals finally foreseeing some offensive firepower after we talked about the lack of it in those first 2 innings. What did you see especially from the Generals hitting in this previous inning?
It looks like they just got their timing down in that inning. They were hitting him pretty hard the first time around, but they were pulling it. They were early on balls, and that led to some ground balls, and it led to some line drives right at people. In that inning, they were able to stay back, think about hitting the ball the other way. Even if they're not, just thinking about it, getting their timing down, they were smoking it, they're getting hits. I think that trend is going to continue throughout this game. But also, I will give it two very good points for the Giants. A good job by Nathan Hinckley buckling down after giving up 3 runs and getting out of that inning when you had some tough hitters up. And also a very, very good fundamental play by the right fielder to trap that ball. If he had simply just lain out for it, if he misses that ball, that's at least a run, as that ball was hit very hard and it was going to travel to the fence. And at the same time, the way he positioned his body was so that even if he missed it, that ball was not going to get by him. So credits to him to keeping that only a 1-run lead there in this inning. I think we got ourselves a good game today. Beautiful weather, beautiful baseball. It's a good time out here.
Generals stranded Volpicelli over at first base. Like you said, Joe Vaquero with a solid play over in right field, not laying out, but instead going to one knee to catch that ball. The Generals with a 3-2 advantage, a massive bottom of the third inning to make this game competitive after having a 2-run deficit following the Adam Kelly home run that kicked things off in the top of this third inning. Well, it's time for the 4th inning of play here at Captain Dick Smith Field. Carson McCoon, the left-handed senior, out for another inning of work for the Generals, and leading things off on the other side of things for Keystone is Julio Acosta. He's had 1 at-bat, 1 hit in today's game, and he will take the first pitch from McCoon for strike 1.
Julio Acosta having quite the season.
For ball 1.
Hitting 500 this year. Obviously, that's only in 2 at-bats. 0 for 1 coming into the game. Had a base hit in the last inning.
Second pitch of this at-bat from McCoon is called strike, so the count is 1-1. That one just below the strike zone, so the count is now 2-1.
Good pitch by McCoon there. He has control of his curveball today, and he has control of his fastball. I think that's going to allow him to go deep into this game as he's starting to bump up the velocity a little as he goes on in this game. He, as a veteran pitcher, one of the things we see with older guys who are a little more confident is early on in the game, you don't see them throwing as hard early on, just trying to find their arm location, find their spots, find where the zone is. And then as you go into the later innings, as we've seen with McCoon here, start to bump up the velo a little.
McCoon came alive in the top of the third inning and shut down the action that was once going on in the Generals' bullpen. He has 4 strikeouts on the day. Half of those came in the top of that third inning. But he will instead walk Acosta there to get things going here for Keystone in the 4th inning. So a runner on first, no outs, and now up to bat is Chris Amorati.
Leadoff walk, probably not what you want there with the catcher who's in the 8 hole in the bottom of the order. Looks like he's going for a bunt here.
The center fielder will bunt it. Giving it chase is McCoon. He will spin and make the throw to Wickman, who drops it at first base. So that will be called. He will be called safe. And Amorati is now the second runner on base here for the Giants in the top of the 4th.
I'll give it to Amorati. That was a perfectly executed sacrifice bunt. He could, if you're in a sacrifice bunt situation, you want to hit it to the right side. He could not have put that in a better spot and made it a very tough play for McCoon. A tough angle there. That play probably should have been made. A little frustrating for McCoon here, not giving up any hard hits.
McCoon delivers to Vaquero, who is at the top of this Giants lineup, who is also showing bunt with runners on first and second. After the Amorati play there and the drop by Wickman over at first base, some more just little troubles for this Generals offense that's been bogging them down and what's led to just this 1-run lead in this game. McCoon delivers.
And if you see on
Vaquero once again showing bunt, and that will go as a ball to even the count at 1-1.
On the scoreboard, the Generals have 3 errors, which ties their season high. but they have definitely made a lot more mistakes than that could have led to an easier game for McCoon on defense.
Exactly. Plenty of things that won't go down as an error, but in our mind could really change the way things are going right now in this game.
And if you're a pitcher, one of the most important things that you have to do is after your team has a big inning, gives you a big lead, you have to come out and you have to shut them down quickly to make a statement. And right now, McCoon's in trouble of not doing that. Even though he hasn't given up a lot of hard hits, they've really only made solid contact once in this game on the big home run. But if you're McCoon, you need to come here, you need to bear down, and this is a very, very important inning for the Generals.
Fakera, number 1 in this batting order. He bunted that one foul down the first base line, so the count is 1-2, no outs. McCoon getting set on the mound here. Runners on first and second for the Giants as McCoon winds up and delivers. And this one is going to be hit straight to Gazin at second base, and it bounces out of his glove. Rounding third is Julio Acosta, and he will score to tie this game up here in the top of the 4th inning.
That's an absolutely boneheaded play by Gazin. In a game like this, you have to stop that ball. He came up before he came up before that ball got to him, thinking about the double play, and next thing you know, it's a tie baseball game. There's no reason that ball should have gotten by Gazin there, and we should not be looking at a tie game right now. Definitely a mental mistake there from a young player. He'll look to learn off of that going forward.
Julio Acosta able to round third base and get home to tie this thing up with the 3rd run of the day for the Giants. Chris Amarati now at second base. Joe Fakera after the bunt at first base, or after that ground ball to Gazin that was bobbled. Nick Carlini, the number 2 hitter now at bat
for
the Giants, and he showed bunt as well in that first pitch that he faced. The count is 1-0. No outs on the board. Runner in scoring position as that ball is bunted once again by Carlini. The throw is not in time as Wickman was off the bag. Carlini having to throw from his knee, and the bases are now loaded once again for Keystone, this time with no outs, and McCoon struggling a little bit on the mound.
Shuffler warming up in the pen again, and if you're McCoon on that play, when it's a bunt that is hit perfectly like that, there's nothing you can do. The only thing you can really do is, if you can't make the throw, just try and see if the ball is going to go foul, because it looks like that could have happened there.
And Ted White on cue will come out for a mound conference here. Shuffler starting to get some warm-up action in the bullpen. Of course, when McCoon was feeling really confident in the top of that 3rd inning, he was shut down. Now the bases loaded, no outs, and McCoon struggling to find the strike zone.
White hasn't made the signal yet, and it doesn't look like he's talking to Carson as much. Carson shaking his head out there. I think he wants to stay in this game. That's always a fun conversation between the coach and the pitcher. Are you ready? Do you got more? Can you still throw? And I think McCoon is confident right now because, honestly, if you're him, you were very frustrated with how the defense has played today. There should not be 3 runs on this board if the Generals played sound defense. So a frustrating thing if you're McCoon. Honestly, doesn't look like he has his worst stuff today, but it's a tough game. That's how baseball works. There's ups and there's downs. There's ebbs and flows, and right now the Generals are making some errors. It's early on in the season. Stuff like that happens. It's very important for this team going forward to learn from some of these infield mistakes, because they definitely do have a lot of talent in the infield. Gazin, very fast. He can hit the ball well, but obviously struggles on defense, and we've seen that a lot today. Sometimes even on the throws, we see him double clutching a lot when he's throwing to first base. Volpicelli and Basie, though, very strong, defensively sound left side of the infield, as that's going to be the rock of their defense. But it looks like McCoon was out for the day. I think he threw a lot better than his stat line is going to show, but he battled, he fought through, he did what he could, he kept his team in the game, and now it's going to be a very, very big opportunity for Mason Shuffler with the bases loaded, no outs, in a tie game. This is some big stuff here for Shuff to see if they can keep this game tied.
McCoon will finish the day allowing 5 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts, as Ted White decides to pull him with the bases loaded for Keystone with no outs here in the top of this 4th inning. The score is tied at 3-3. Both teams have 5 hits. However, the glaring difference on the scoreboard, the Generals have 4 errors to just 1 for the Keystone Giants.
I mean, that's the name of the game right here. They do have the same amount of hits. I think some of the hits, technically speaking, when you're doing the baseball scorebook, you technically can't call it an error, but they definitely were defensive mistakes and things that I don't think Coach Ted White is very happy about right now. They aren't the Giants really haven't been hitting the ball all that hard this game. One really strong hit so far. The Generals are making a lot of strong contact, so I think in order for the Generals to pull out a victory here, what they have to do is continue their offense and just tighten up on defense. I think they'll be okay. But right now, probably the key inflection point in this game, bases loaded, no outs, Mason Shuffler coming in to try and hold on to the tie.
Shuffler getting his warm-up pitches on the mound right now, throwing to Luke Seipel, the catcher, as the Keystone runners return to their bases. Home plate umpire signaling that it's time to get things going once again. For those of you just joining us, Crawford Humphreys and James Laverty here on WLUR All Access. And the Keystone Giants are battling back in this game. The score is knotted at 3-3, and Keystone is 90 feet away from breaking this tie. Bases are loaded, no outs. Shuffler with a jam to get the Generals out of as he continues his warm-up play. The home plate umpire is signaling that it's time for R.J. Goldsberry, the first baseman, to come to the plate.
Big spot for Shuff here. He's a hard-throwing guy. He's got a hard-breaking slider. One of the things he's struggled with over the years is his control and location. He's going to need it here if they're going to get out of this spot.
Goldsberry getting set, the first baseman. Shuffler getting set on the mound here, getting some cheers from the Generals dugout. He delivers, and that first pitch is going to be fouled straight back into the net by Goldsberry.
Shuffler throwing a little harder than McCoon was in the game, so it's going to take them some adjustments to get their timing back on. Shuffler also, not only does he throw pretty hard, he's a tall, lengthy guy. He gets the ball out there really far off the mound. So he's a guy that even though he throws hard, it looks a little faster than it is. He also hides the ball very well, so he's a tough guy to pick up early on.
This one is going to be popped in the infield. Gazen giving it chase, and he will get under that one for the first out of this inning as Goldsberry walks with his head down back to the Keystone dugout. But a big play there and a big makeup play there for Gazen, who had that fumble earlier, riding the ship there with that pop fly.
Easy play to make, hopefully a confidence booster there for Gazen so he can get his head back on his shoulders and make the next hard play that comes at him. That's exactly, though, what you want there if you're Mason Shuffler, is a pop-up that they can't score on for the first out.
Adam Kelly now up to bat. He had that home run in the top of the third inning that extended the Keystone lead. He takes the first pitch from Shuffler straight down the middle for a strike. So still bases loaded for the Giants, but one out now for Shuffler to work with as he faces Kelly, the hard hitter. And Kelly on cue is going to pop this one into left field. Right underneath it is John Raymond, and he will try and get that one back into the infield. He will not be able to get it back in time.
And that's about
as Chris Amirati scores from third base.
That's exactly what you want to do if you're the hitter right there. You just want to make contact, put it somewhere far, hit a fly ball. That's far enough to give them the lead. He knew the situation. Good situational hitting there. Shuffler, the run scores, but he gets the out, and he does the right thing for the Generals. He's pitching well so far.
Shuffler doing a good job of staying collected on the pitcher's mound. Amirati rounded first pretty quickly, just a quick little 90-foot trot to home plate for the fourth run of the day for the Giants. Now runners on the corners as Pedro Abreu comes up to bat for the Giants. Shuffler getting his feet set, winds up, delivers, and a beautiful curveball there for strike one.
Shuffler definitely has good command of his two pitches right now. A hard-breaking slider and that fastball that has some life on it today.
Abreu, the number 5 hitter in this Keystone batting order. Keystone has put 2 runs on the board in the top of this fourth inning. Shuffler looking to shut that down quickly. Now with 2 outs to work with, thanks to John Raymond battling the sun and getting under that pop fly in left field.
Raymond, a pretty versatile player for this Generals team. He's pitching well so far and a very good outfielder. Those are his main things. He can play good defense, and he throws very, very hard.
Abreu is going to let that pitch fall. That one very low. Seipel having to get his glove in the dirt to contain that one. So the count 2-1 now for Abreu. Shuffler getting set once again. Kelly taking... Looks like they're going to attempt to steal second base. Runner comes home and a home plate collision. They're going to call the out, but Seipel was hit hard.
That's a nasty play right there. He went right for him. Not what you want to see from the Giants there. Seipel is He got hit hard there. Not pretty. Helmet was off. He went right into him with his helmet.
That was Joe Ficara that came flying from third base after Carlini attempted to steal second. Gazin covered second base, threw it home, seeing that Ficara was running home. Got to Seipel in time. Seipel gets the out, but a massive home plate collision between the two, and the Generals catcher being helped by training officials right now, right at home plate.
Now, Crawford, tell me what you saw there, because in Division III ODAC play, if you run into the catcher, by rule, you are supposed to be automatically thrown out of the game. I don't see any signaling here yet, but it looks like he's talking to the umpire, so it'll be interesting to see if he stays in the game or not.
Yeah, the home plate umpire having discussions right now about what the next course of action would be. Seipel is still not up. General's training staff still working on him, coach around him as well. We'll see what happens here. It looked as if Seipel was covering home plate.
Seipel was in the right. You're not allowed to block the base path when the ball isn't there. Yeah. But he was fielding the ball as he was in the base path, and it looked like he got caught up in between. But there definitely was a bit of a malicious hit at the very end that I saw there. That was not pretty.
It looked like he was not interfering or blocking the base path whatsoever as he was fielding that ball.
Definitely not. He actually did a very good job, and the MLB recently changed their rules on this after the Buster Posey play where he broke his leg about where you should stand if you're a catcher. And Seipel, very fundamentally sound player, did the right thing there. I would be surprised if the base runner stays in this game, but it'll be interesting to see.
Seipel currently being helped by medical officials.
You hope he's doing okay.
Hope he's doing okay. We'll let you know after the break. Crawford Humphreys and James Laverty back here on WLUR All Access, bringing you coverage of today's contest between the Washington and Lee Generals and the Keystone Giants. We just saw a scary collision at home plate. Luke Seipel is on his feet, being held back to the Generals' dugout by a couple of training personnel.
It's good to see him. Looks like he hit his head somewhere in that collision. Probably is going to have to go through concussion protocol now, but glad that he's okay. Glad that he was walking up under his own strength at the end of the play there. Didn't look so pretty at first, but you hope he's doing all right in there.
Time now for the bottom of the fourth inning. Of course, before that collision, Seipel able to make the play at home plate and get the third out of that half inning. So we are now in the bottom of the fourth inning. 4-3 is the lead for Keystone as They and the Generals continue to trade blows.
And in a game that has been characterized by Generals' poor defense so far, they executed the cover of the double steal perfectly right there. Ziepel was smart enough to see when he made the throw originally second that the runner on third wasn't too far off. Then Gazen cut in earlier. He cut in before the base once he saw the runner was going and was able to get out a speedy runner.
Shuffler also with a solid job filling in for Carson McCoon, who was the starter in today's game, got replaced in the top of that fourth inning by Shuffler. And now the Generals looking to get the lead back or at least tie things up here in the bottom of the fourth inning. Brian Wickman at the bottom of their lineup, the number 7 hitter, will lead things off as Nathan Hinckley, the right-handed junior pitcher from Keystone, will continue his stay on the mound. The first pitch from him is going to be high and inside for ball 1.
Wickman walked his first time up on 4 pitches. Now he's seen 5 straight balls in this game.
Wickman playing first base today, done a good job containing things over on that end. He will take the second pitch of this at-bat for a strike that will even the count at 1-1.
Had a good scoop early on in this game, and then he had a stretch where he almost went to a split. Wickman, so far through about 55 opportunities this year, no errors on the season.
Hinckley delivers, and that one low inside for ball 2 of this at-bat. Wickman, 1 walk in today's game. Jabin Bassey on deck. And this one is going to be popped straight in the air by Wickman, giving it chase as Hinckley.
Uh-oh. Looks like he got it.
And Hinckley making a collision with his catcher, Julio Acosta, somehow comes up with that ball. Acosta a little shaken up there, but he will take his spot back behind the plate. So the out is on the board, despite a little miscommunication, despite some contact.
That's a tough play when you're in the middle of third base and home plate because you have 3 guys who all are technically supposed to be on that play. From a coaching standpoint, the third baseman has got to be the guy that comes in and makes that play. As a pitcher, you are told that if there's a pop-up and someone else can get it, you are told to get out of there. If you're a catcher and it's in between you and the third baseman, it's the third baseman ball because he has a much better angle at it. So really, if that ball had dropped, that would have been on the third baseman for not coming in and taking charge there.
Jabin Bassey up to bat now for the Generals, and just like the man before him is going to pop that one straight into the air. This one going into left field, and Kelly landing on one knee, but somehow making the catch. Again, some more miscommunication on Keystone. 3 guys very close together, almost colliding with each other, but they somehow make the catch, somehow get the out, and that's 2 up, 2 down for the Generals.
There they actually made the right play. If you're the left fielder and you can get to it, you call the shortstop off. You got the better angle for it. He had a long ways to run. He wasn't sure he was going to get there, but I'll give it to the left fielder there. Once he knew that he could get that ball, he went in and got it.
Hinckley delivers to John Raymond, the left fielder, who grounds it to Carlini, the second baseman, who makes the flip over to R.J. Goldsberry at first, and that will end this 4th inning of play. So the score is 4-3 here, Captain Dick Smith Field. The Generals will look to keep it that way when we get back for the 5th inning of action here on WR All Access. Crawford Humphreys and James Laverty back in the booth at Captain Dick Smith Field for this presentation of Generals Baseball on WLUR All Access, powered by First Team Broadcasting. The score is 4-3 as we begin the third inning of action. Jack Giardino has replaced Luke Siepel catcher. Mason Shuffler still on the mound for the Generals, and he will face Pedro Abreu. As Abreu chops that one in the first pitch he looks at to Volpicelli, who will quickly throw that over to Wickman at first base for the first out of this inning.
Shuffler doing a good job early on, but obviously, unlike McCoon, he has his defense really helping him out so far. I think right now what we've seen in this game, the difference in this game, the reason it's a 4-3 lead, when the Generals had their big inning, they came out in the top half and weren't able to shut down the Giants. When the Giants took a lead, they came out there. That was one of the quickest innings we've seen all game, and to keep that lead.
Brian Diaz now batting for the Giants. He will watch the first pitch from Shuffler go low and in the dirt for ball one. So the count is 1-0. A 4-3 lead as the Giants and Generals continue to trade blows with back-to-back big innings. This one is going to be chopped straight to Shuffler by Diaza. And Shuffler is going to flip that one quickly over to Wickman for the second out of this inning. So 2 up, 2 down for Shuffler, who is making quick work of this Giants batting order.
Nice athletic play by Shuffler there, using every little bit of his 6'6" frame to make that play and get the second out.
Manny Rojas, the shortstop, the number 7 hitter on this Giants lineup for today, up to bat now, facing Shuffler. Shuffler getting set, moving pretty quickly with a little bit of rhythm. Rojas showing bunt there, but he let the ball pass him for strike one.
Shuffler struggled a bit last year. In 9 innings, had an 8 ERA and a .400 batting average against. Looking to turn the tides this season. Right now, off to a good start in a very important situation in a close game.
Rojas not showing bunt after initially doing it on that first pitch, and that pitch from Shuffler goes well inside for a 1-1 count. 2 outs and a beautiful day here on the campus of Washington and Lee University. Blue skies and some solid baseball weather for February in Virginia. Not what you'd normally expect here, especially given last night's conditions with temperatures in the high 30s.
And usually when you think of late February, you really don't think of baseball too much, but today, beautiful day. Good game of baseball going on right now. And of course, down in Florida and down in Arizona, all 30 major league teams have games today. So it is truly a baseball day.
Rojas chopped that one directly into the glove of Jackson Gazen, who kept his head down and flipped it to Wickman in time for the out. 3 up, 3 down. Quick work by Mason Shuffler and the crew. We'll be back after the break. Back live from Captain Dick Smith Field for the bottom of the 5th inning between the Generals and the Giants of Keystone. The score remaining 4-3, and leading things off for the Generals in this 5th inning of play is none other than Jackson Gazen at the top of this lineup. He will once again face Nathan Hinckley, the junior right-hander. Still no action in the Keystone bullpens. They're feeling confident with Hinckley's action thus far. As Gazen gets set, and Hinckley will deliver the first pitch of this at-bat. Gazen will ground this one directly to Nick Carlini at second base. He will toss it over to Goldsberry at first for a quick out.
Interesting play there by the second baseman. He kind of threw that up to his other hand with his glove. A little smooth, a little dangerous there with a speedy Gazin. Got to keep it a little more fundamentally sound, but able to get that out. And one thing that's interesting about Jackson Gazin is his now mammoth 770 batting average probably is down more into the high 600s after a 1-for-3 appearance today. As Munson, or no, that is
Perkins, the center fielder, will have that one drop just in front of Fakera in right field for a single with one out on the board. Both these Generals batters hitting the first pitches they looked at. It worked out a little bit better for Perkins than it did for Jackson Gazin as Jason Volpicelli makes his strut to home plate.
Both of them pulled the ball hard there in that at-bat. Gazin, we saw, just kind of got a little out in front of it, didn't keep his hands in as much in that at-bat, and caused him to roll over to the second base. But one thing I was going to say that's really interesting about Jackson Gazin is coming into the season, he had the starting second baseman role taken away from him by freshman Colin Leby. Leby got hurt in the first game. Gazin came in to replace him and has made the most out of his second opportunity.
Hinckley checking Perkins over at first base as Volpicelli awaits the first pitch of this at-bat. One out on the board for Hinckley to work with here as the Generals look to tie this thing up in the bottom of the fifth. Volpicelli awaits the pitch. Hinckley delivers, and this one is going to be popped into the infield. Giving it chase is the shortstop, Manny Rojas, and he will be able to center himself underneath it and put the second out of this inning on the board.
Generals are coming out swinging. They're aggressive. I think they know that they can hit this guy's fastball. I think sometimes that what we've seen from the hitters today is just being a little overly aggressive and swinging at pitches that might not be the best one they can hit. We saw there with Volpicelli, that ball was probably up and in, either not a strike or not a pitch that you're going to want to hit. If he waits in the at-bat, he probably gets a better pitch to hit. And with a guy throwing around the velocity that he does, guys like Volpicelli, like Gazin, like Munson here, if they stay back and wait for their pitch, they can light this guy up.
2 outs on the board. Ryan Munson, the right fielder, now up to bat as Hinckley once again checking Zach Perkins at first base. Munson getting himself set here as the Generals still looking to close this one-run deficit here in the bottom of the fifth inning.
Tying run on first with 2 outs.
Munson's going to let that one go low and into the dirt as Perkins takes off towards second base, and he will beat the throw from Acosta.
He got in there, and he got a very good jump, but Acosta showing off the arm there. He put some zip on that ball.
Acosta did a good job blocking that with his leg and getting the ball and not letting it go into that backstop, which could have given Perkins not easily second base, but possibly third, depending on how far it went back there.
Yep.
Definitely some zip on that ball there. Made it a close call for Perkins. He's able to get there just in time, now taking a sizable lead over at second base, and Munson getting himself reset back in the batter's box. And Hinckley, for the amount of times he's checked his runners, finally pays off and finally is able to catch Zach Perkins, who, like I said, took a generous lead at second, unable to get back in time. And the Generals strand a runner over at second base. So the Generals, scoreless inning, which is rare to come by so far in this game. The score remains 4-3, and Shuffler will look to keep that one-run lead where it is right now. We'll be back with the sixth inning of play when we're back here on WR All Access. Crawford Humphreys and James Laverty back here on WR All Access as we are ready to kick off the sixth inning of action here at Captain Dick Smith Field on the campus of Washington and Lee University. Leading things off For the Giants, it's Julio Acosta, who's had one at-bat and one hit so far in today's game. Shuffler has thrown 15 pitches. His 16th is hit by Acosta, who somehow gets it through the glove of Bassi over at third base. It's picked up by Raymond in left field and thrown back into the infield. So a leadoff single by Acosta to get things going here in the 6th.
And Shuffler executed on that pitch. He threw a fastball that had some good life on it, down in the zone, down low and away. But a good job by Acosta keeping his hands in, making the most of what he could with that pitch, just under the glove of Chapin Bassi, who gave a good effort for it. That'll be Acosta's second hit of the day. He's reached base all 3 times with a walk in the 4th inning that led to a run.
Chris Ammirati at the very bottom of this Giants lineup up to bat, showing bunt in that first pitch will instead take it as a strike. Acosta showing some movement over at first base. We'll see if Shuffler tries to check him at all as he takes a little bit of a lead.
In his last at bat, Ammirati reached on a bunt error. Well, I believe they put it down as an error, or they might have put it down as a base hit. But he reached on a bunt. He'll do it again.
Ammirati is going to show bunt once again, but the ball is going to fall low for ball 1. So the count is 1-1 as Ammirati checks for the signal from his third base coach before stepping back into the batter's box.
That Ammirati bunt where he was able to get on because of the drop by the first baseman was what led to that inning that knocked McCoon out of this game and took away the Generals' lead.
Ammirati showing bunt, but Shuffler instead checks Acosta over at first base.
Shuffler, not an easy guy at this level to bunt off of. When you're a guy who's throwing about 6'5", 6'6", throws straight over the top and throws pretty hard with also a nice curveball, that's not an easy guy to get a bunt down off of.
Bassi dropping in. And that ball is not going to be bunted, instead roped into center field by Chris Ammirati. And that will put runners on first and second. Chapin Bassi expecting a bunt there. Filed way in to the infield, but instead that one hit deep into center field. Ammirati catching the entire Generals infield off guard there. So that will put a runner in scoring position in the form of Julio Acosta. And now the Giants are back at the top of their lineup with Fakera, the right fielder, stepping into the batter's box.
And if you want to talk about how hard that ball was hit, they basically had a hit and run going, and he still couldn't get to third with how quickly he got to the center fielder.
Fakera showing bunt as well. He will take that pitch inside by Shuffler for ball 1. Acosta showing a lot of movement over at second base. Ammirati remaining over at first. So runner in scoring position. Shuffler, no outs to work with. Trying to keep this thing at a 1-run game for the Generals as he winds up and delivers to Fakera, and that ball went over the glove of Jack Giardino. Both runners will advance. Acosta now 90 feet from making this thing a 2-run ball game, and Ammirati halts up at second base.
Looks like they may have just gotten a little crossed up on the signs there. That was a fastball. Giardino had his glove a little lower than that. Not a great mistake, and you know that with this backstop, if a ball gets by, the runner is going to be able to advance that base. Size-wise, this is pretty much a major league backstop. What makes it interesting is that you have a brick wall. Every now and then, you'll see a runner go and a ball hit off the wall so hard, and they'll be kind of caught in a bad spot with how quickly it'll get back to the catcher.
Shuffler delivers. This one hit straight to Volpicelli at shortstop. He will make the throw to Wickman in time for the first out of the inning, but not before Acosta makes a quick little 90-foot sprint to make this game 2 runs. And the score is now 5-3 in favor of the Giants, and now runners yet again in scoring position with Ammirati holding up on second base.
And we see how much
at first.
We see how much that pass ball just hurt the Generals there, because if it's first and second and no outs in that situation, that was a perfect double play ground ball there. You're probably looking at 2 outs and a runner on third instead of 1 out with a runner on second and a 5-3 game.
So Fakera was thrown out there. Ammirati remains on second base. He held up while Acosta rounded third to come home. And the first pitch to Nick Cardellini from Shuffler is called strikes. The count 0-1, 1 out, and a runner in scoring position. Score is now 5-3.
That last one probably the best curveball we've seen from Shuffler today. A lot of bite on that pitch.
Shuffler delivers another nasty curveball there. He caught Cardellini swinging. And the count now 0-2.
And a nice speed right there on that curveball. He threw pretty much the same pitch twice. He said, here it is, hit it. This is my nastiest pitch. Cardellini, nothing he could do with it.
Shuffler gets set. Cardellini in the box. And it looks like he will call timeout. Luckily for Shuffler, he was not making his throwing motion or about to throw.
Oh, yep.
So it doesn't catch him off guard at all as he gets back and gets set.
Shuffler with 2 straight curveballs low and away. Look for him to go up and in with his fastball here. Try and change eye levels. How do you like that?
Strike out, the first one of the day for Shuffler there. Caught Carlini looking for the second out of this inning, and just like that, Shuffler has brought this Generals defense back to life. Two outs now to work with that runner in danger of being stranded on second. That runner is Chris Amarati, the center fielder.
Boy,
Up to bat now, R.J. Goldsberry, the first baseman.
Boy, does Shuffler have some confidence in that curveball to throw it 3 times in a row, get 2 and get a looking strikeout there. The first backwards K of the game.
Shuffler delivers to Goldsberry, who pops this one up. Standing right under is Jackson Gazen. This ball's taking a little bit to fall, and it will fall directly into his glove. He almost missed it, had to backpedal a little bit just before it fell, but he is able to center himself under it.
Gazen definitely raising some blood pressure over there with that he's played second base today, but he's made the last 2 plays, so starting to get that confidence up.
So pop fly and a big strikeout from Mason Shuffler, but not before the Giants can tack on one more run to their lead. It is 5-3 as we head to the bottom of the 6th. And James, we have seen some solid offensive production thus far. It's kind of spread out. It was really the bottom of that 3rd inning.
Yep.
And since then, the Generals have come knocking a few more times, but have not been able to capitalize. What do you expect to see strategy-wise in the bottom of the 6th?
I think hitters need to relax. They need to let the ball come to them because you got a lot of good hitters in this lineup. I think talent-wise, offensively, they probably outmatch the pitcher right here, but he's been doing a very good job of getting them out front and changing their timing a little to make up for that. I think the big play we're going to remember in this game is the play where Perkins got picked off of second base. In that situation, 2 outs, runners in scoring position, you have your best hitter, Ryan Munson, hit 360 last year up. You let him do the work there. There's no reason that you're trying to get to third with 2 outs. So definitely a young mistake, a mistake that he's going to learn from. Now, down by 2, Munson will lead off this next inning.
Nathan Hinckley back on the mound for the Giants of Keystone. Still no action in the Keystone bullpen, however, we are still seeing a little bit of action in the Generals bullpen. Have yet to see.
That's Nathan Cohen.
What will become of that?
Short lefty.
Definitely good to get him warmed up. Shuffler, though, showing his stuff these past couple innings with some
very
solid
impressive
production.
Shuffler's a guy that has always had very nice stuff, but he just hasn't been able to capitalize off of it, honestly, because of control issues. But what we're seeing today is he can locate that curveball wherever he wants it, and his fastball, he's keeping it hard and down in the zone. And when you're coming from that upper angle with how tall he is and getting close to the plate, that's a tough pitch to hit.
Ryan Munson, the right fielder, will lead things off here in the bottom of the 6th inning as the Generals look to close on this 2-run deficit as time starts to run out here in the second leg of this 2-game series. Munson will take the first pitch from Hinkler for ball 1, but belts this one into right field. Giving it chase is Joe Ficara.
What a play.
And it looks like he was able to make the catch. It's a little dark back there, all shadows. Somehow battles the shadows to get that catch there, falling against the wall. Heck of a play by Ficara.
You know, Munson, that's a 320-foot fence. Munson probably hit that ball 320 feet exactly, just missed it. I mean, some Major League parks, if you're at Fenway, you're at Yankee Stadium, that short right field porch, that's a homer. But Munson, it's just an out in the scorebook.
Just fell short there for Munson as Bryce Burnett, the designated hitter, comes up to bat, and he will swing at the first pitch he looks at. This one falling foul right by the Keystone dugout. Will they make a play? They will not. A couple of Keystone players running into the tarp that's rolled up right there besides the Giants' bullpen.
I mean, that's a tough play. You see it all the time on ESPN and guys in the big leagues making plays on tarps. Not as easy as it looks when you see it on TV. A very difficult play there when the tarp gets in play. If you were to make that play, I would be very, very, very impressed. Instead, Burnett will have another life.
So Burnett, for him, the count is 0-1 down in the count to Hinckley, the right-handed junior. He was still getting some solid production here. 56 is his pitch count right now. We'll continue to monitor that as he throws a solid strike to Burnett.
And Crawford, the Giants do have an error today, so are all 3 of those runs for the Generals earned, or does Hinckley have some unearned runs in there?
It says that Hinckley has 3 earned runs right now.
Okay.
So all of the runs so far have been earned as he delivers. And it looks like they're going to say Bryce Burnett went after that ball there. So that will be the second out on the board for the Generals. Generals finding themselves in a little bit of a hole here as Hinckley continues to work.
That'll bring up Jack Giardino. This is his first at-bat of the game. Giardino hit 178 last year, a little downturn from when he hit 290 as a freshman over his career. He's at a 240 average. He's only made one error in his Washington League career as a catcher, looking to get off to a good start at the plate here in 2020.
Giardino's first at-bat of this game after replacing Luke Seipel after his injury, after a little home plate collision. He will take the first pitch from Hinckley for ball one. So 1-0 is the count. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 6th inning. The Generals desperately looking for some offensive firepower to close this 2-run gap. As the second pitch of this at-bat is called strike, and the count will even at 1-1.
Giardino, a catcher who wears number 20, wears it in honor of, as Giardino, a Yankees fan, a former Yankee catcher and 5-time World Series champion, Jorge Posada.
That pitch way outside by Hinckley for ball 2. Giardino batting .250 with 1 RBI thus far. Looking to establish himself in this game after some solid offensive production by Seipel past couple of days. That one is hit over towards right field. It's going to fall in the gap between center and right as Giardino is able to make it a double. Uses his speed there, does a little celebration towards the dugout.
Big 2-out double for Giardino there. And one of the things that we've been watching as the Generals have been taking these at-bats is that their timing seems to be off. They're pulling a lot of stuff if they let the pitch come to them, they're probably going to be able to hit this guy. Giardino probably saw that in the dugout, made the adjustment, and lines a 2-out double to right center field.
Giardino using his speed there, able to make it a double with 2 outs. So the Generals with their back still against the wall, but now with a runner in scoring position for Brian Wickman to work with. He has 1 at-bat, 1 walk thus far in today's game.
Wickman went 2 for 12 over the weekend, had his first career double over the weekend against Averett.
Hinckley delivers as Giardino taking a solid lead, very substantial lead over at second base.
That's one thing the Generals have definitely been doing today, taking some big leads off of bases and really trying to get to Hinckley's head. Obviously, though, we saw that ended last inning in a poor way for the Generals. As
Hinckley delivers to Wickman, who hits us over the head of the first baseman, Abreu. Rounding third is Giardino, and he is able to get home. So an RBI single from the first baseman, Brian Wickman, turns us into a run game to the Generals here in the bottom of the 6th.
And how do you like that? The big pinch hit appearance for Giardino gets the double. And then you had Brian Wickman there, the sophomore first baseman, come in, get a big RBI. All of a sudden, this is a 1-run game.
Some solid 2-out production magic here from the Generals, who were able to put a run on the board and close this lead just a little bit. The score is now 5-4, 2 outs on the board still as Chapin Bassey steps up to the plate for the Generals. Bassey doing a good job of holding down third base thus far as he takes the first pitch from Hinckley and will chop that one foul down the third baseline.
And as we've seen as a very consistent trend throughout this game, a lot of guys are ahead on the fastball of Hinckley. If they stay back, I think that's when they get their big production. We saw it with Giardino. We saw it in that 3-run inning. And if they do that going forward, I think that's the Generals' best chance to get some offensive production and take a lead in this game.
Bassey has already been struck out in today's game by Hinckley. To avoid a repeat of that as that ball goes into the dirt. Acosta doing a good job of covering it.
For Brian Wickman, that was his 5th RBI on the season.
Wickman will hold up at first base, not showing any sign of stealing. Count is 1-1 for Bassey.
John Raymond on deck if it gets to him.
Bassey gets set. Hinckley once again checking the runner over at first, which we've seen plenty of so far today.
The amount of times he's thrown over is an astounding number today, to the point where we were critiquing him earlier, but in that bottom of the 5th inning, it ended up working out for him.
Got a potential game-changing play. We'll see how it ends up. As Bassey swung out of his shoes on that pitch there. It was low inside, outside of the strike zone.
Interesting pitch there.
Fooled by the pitch, and the count will go 1-2. And now Hinckley with the chance to get the Giants out of this inning.
That's an interesting pitch there. Usually one of the big no-nos in baseball is throwing an inside changeup. He does it there. Chapin's been so ahead of him. that he was even out front of the inside changeup, and he was able to get away with throwing that pitch.
Hinckley hinted at a little check swing there, instead held back on it. That pitch way outside. Acosta doing a good job of hopping up and grabbing that ball. So Wickman stays on first, taking a little bit of a lead. Bassi in the batter's box with facing a 2-2 count with 2 outs on the board. The Generals closing in on this Keystone lead here in the bottom of the 6th inning.
Big play by Acosta. He's been doing a really good job behind the plate. We've seen it a couple times that he really does have a bullet for an arm. And with this backstop, if the ball gets by him, the batter's going to get over to the next base.
Hinckley delivers, and this one is going to be fouled straight into the Keystone dugout by Bassi.
Hinckley very confident right now. He's not afraid to pound the inside zone, even throwing his changeup inside, which is definitely a very, very bold move. But to further the point that I was saying before, if a ball gets by him, you have a runner in scoring position with 2 outs as the tying run. So a big job by Acosta to not let anything get by him.
Hinckley knows how important it is to stop the Generals before they get hot. Delivers to Bassi, who will hit this one straight to the third baseman, Abreu, who will make the throw over to Goldsberry at first for the 3rd out of that inning, but not before the Generals close in on the lead. It is now 5-4 after 6 full innings here at Captain Dick Smith Field. We'll be back with the 7th after the break. Crawford Humphreys and James Laverty back here on WLUR All Access, powered by First Team Broadcasting. The score is 5-4. Adam Kelly up to bat to lead things off here in the top of the 7th inning at Captain Dick Smith Field. Mason Shuffler back on the mound for the Generals, and his first pitch of the inning is a strike to Kelly.
You see Shuffler, a lot of confidence in that curveball, throwing it in all counts, and of course with Kelly, who hit that rocket of a home run earlier on. Very cognizant of that.
Shuffler will lose that pitch low in the dirt, but the count will go to 1-1. Kelly had a monster home run in the top of the 3rd inning.
Probably one of the hardest balls I've ever seen hit at this field. Pretty much a line drive that got out to the farthest part of the ballpark. Very impressive stuff.
Soared over the left field fence. John Raymond had no shot of leaping up and catching that one. But Shuffler has since rebounded and got himself set here on the mound.
It was McCoon that made that was still in the game when he hit that home run.
That pitch is going to be high, and the count will go 3-1. Still a little bit of action in the Generals' bullpen. We will see how that shakes out, but Keystone remaining confident Nathan Hinckley and keeping everyone out of the bullpen thus far.
Looks like Nate Cohen is the one over there throwing. Definitely a contrast.
This one is going to be hit straight to Chapin Bassi at third base by Kelly, and it's going to go through his glove, a hard hit ball that took a lot of bounces. Hard for Bassi to judge that one. And Kelly will hold up at first base, so a leadoff single to get things going here in the top of the 7th inning for the Giants.
And out of the earlier defensive errors, there's not much you could do there if you're Chapin Bassi. That was hit really hard. You obviously have a pretty rocky area over there at third, so probably took a weird hop on him. The only thing you could do there is put your chest in front of it, but with a ball hit that hard, mentally and a quick decision to make, that's tough to do. So a tough play over there for Bassi.
Pedro Abreu, the third baseman and the number 5 hitter on this Giants lineup, up to bat now, and he will hit the first ball he sees into right field. So a single there to follow up Kelly's leadoff single. So now runners on first and second, courtesy of that little hit from Abreu.
Cohen standing in the bullpen over there, looking like he's ready to go if Schuff needs it. But once again, something that we've seen as a constant throughout this game, obviously the ground ball was hit pretty hard, but the Giants really have not made strong, solid contact outside of that home run, yet just with getting men on base, forcing errors with some strong base running, they've been able to put 5 runs on the board, and for right now they have a lead as Coach Ted White is coming out to talk to Mason Shuffler.
Little mound conference here as Shuffler puts runners on first and second with no outs here in the top of the 7th, and the last thing the Generals want is for this Giants lead to continue to grow just as they begin to cut into it.
And it looks like Nathan Cohen is going to be the one coming out of the bullpen for the Generals. Definitely a contrast here. Shuffler, the very tall, lengthy righty, and Nate, the strong, short lefty.
So the second pitching change today for Ted White and company. Third pitcher that the Giants will face. Nate Cohen, like you said, a much different size than what we saw with Shuffler. Shuffler, tall, way above 6 feet, and with a lot of strength, and really covers the base path. I mean, he's massive.
And one of the things he does so well is he actually gets his stride length when he's throwing is taller than he actually is. So compared to most pitchers, he gets extremely close to home plate, which makes that 80 or that speed that he throws probably look even faster.
He really covers the pitcher's mound. Nate Cohen, on the other hand, looking to get some warm-up pitches in here to Jack Giardino.
Nate, a guy, he plays with a lot of fire, a lot of passion. He throws for his stature. He throws pretty hard.
Getting some warm-up pitches into Jack Giardino, the new catcher in today's game after Luke Seipel's potential injury after a home plate collision earlier in today's game.
Nate and Jack Giardino, they were roommates their sophomore year. They are quite the dynamic.
So obviously some chemistry there. It obviously worked out for both parties. We'll see how it works out for the continuation of this game. Runners on first and second again for the Giants. No outs to work with, and the Generals looking to keep this thing at just 1 run after cutting into that lead in the bottom of the 6th inning.
Nate pitched very well in the game versus SVU. They got shortened. In the top of the 5th inning, he came in. The bases were loaded. No outs. He was able to get out of it without any runs thanks to a double play that he turned himself. So we're looking to see if he can repeat that performance. This time, it'll count.
Cohen getting his warm-ups in right now. The runners have returned to their respective bases on first and second.
I like the move by Ted White, bringing in Shuffler, starting to struggle a little in that inning. They were finally starting to get to him and hit him well. You bring in the lefty on the lefty, and I really do like the mixing and matching that Coach White did right there. If you have a guy like Mason coming in, then versus a guy like Nate as a hitter, those are 2 very different arm angles that you're looking at, which is going to throw your timing off a little early on. So definitely some good mixing and matching by Coach White.
And just as Ted White makes his own substitution, we will have a pinch hitter on the other side of things from Keystone as Devin Reed takes over for Brian Diazza at designated hitter. Devin Reed has yet to take his spot in the batter's box in today's game, but he will face the first-time pitcher, Nate Cohen, who has gotten himself set and is ready to go here with 2 runners on and no outs in the top of the 7th inning. Reed immediately shows bunt and will bunt it back towards that brick wall in the backstop, and the count will go 0-1. Giardino giving it chase there.
Giardino throwing some hustle. Obviously, that ball was nowhere near him, but some fury in that play right there. Devin Reed last year, 26 games, 340 hitter, had 30 hits, 8 doubles, and 2 triples with a .477 slugging percentage. So definitely one of their better pinch hitters coming off the bench right here in a big spot. But it looks like they're going to have him bunt.
Cohen getting set, and Reed once again showing bunt. He's going to bunt it directly into the glove of Cohen, who makes a great heads-up play and gets the out at third base.
Really good job by pitching and defensively there by Nate Cohen. He saw the bunt. He had a fastball high in the zone, so not much you could do with it. He hit it really hard right back at Cohen, and Cohen a very heads-up play. No hesitation. Makes the play. Gets the out.
Shortstop.
Nobody advances.
Manny Rojas.
So Abreu now on second base, but Adam Kelly not able to beat Cohen's throw to Chapin Bassey over at third. Great heads-up play and eliminates a potential second runner in scoring position there. Now 1 out on the board for Cohen to work with. Runners on first and second. Abreu is the batter or the runner on second base. And Manny Rojas up to bat for the Giants. Rojas, the number 7 hitter, the shortstop in today's game, takes the first pitch from Cohen for ball 1. Rojas once again getting set back in the batter's box. Cohen working methodically here, getting the sign from Giardino.
Rojas grounded to Volpicelli his last time up.
Abreu taking a lead over at second. Cohen will check him and then make the pitch, and will pitch another ball. So the count is 2-0 with 1 out. The score still 5-4 here at Captain Dick Smith Field.
Cohen missing in the exact same location in both of those pitches. That's definitely one of those things you see when you have a confident righty hitter up and you're a lefty with a little side run on your fastball. Sometimes it can be hard to throw in on them and you miss outside and away. Let's see if Cohen bears down here and gets that spot. Giardino setting up inside.
Cohen winds up that pitch, ball 3 there.
Same exact miss right there.
Giardino having to slide over a little bit to contain that one.
And you see there's already some movement that looks like Kenny Hartsfield getting up in the Washington and Lee pen. So Cohen probably a situational pitcher here trying to get them out of this jam.
Runners on first and second. That's Abreu taking a rather large lead on second. Cohen not focused on him, instead focused on Manny Rojas, who is standing in the batter's box right now, and that will be ball 4. Quick 4-0 count there will load the bases for the Keystone Giants. So the Generals thought they had themselves out of a jam after that heads-up play from Nate Cohen with his throw to Bassey to get Adam Kelly out. Instead, now the bases loaded with 1 out, and this 1-run lead in jeopardy of growing much larger.
Big spot, bases loaded, 1 out. The Generals trailing by a run. And Acosta here, who has reached base with 2 hits and a walk in all 3 of his plate appearances today.
Julio Acosta getting set here facing Cohen. That's Abreu, who's 90 feet away from the 6th run of the day from the same Keystone Giants team that was only able to put up 2 runs in 9 innings in last night's contest.
And that's a good first pitch by Cohen. A cutter right over the top of the plate. Looks like it was a little high.
Count is 1-0 with 1 out on the board for Cohen. A little bit better situation to work with. As he, wow, hit Acosta directly in the thigh as he winces in pain, went to the ground, and is now on all 4s trying to help himself up. That's Abreu that will score, and the bases will once again load themselves. Expect to see a pinch runner here as Acosta tries to run it off, but he is still limping heavily. That ball hit him straight in the thigh, the pitch from Cohen. So Abreu will score. It will become a 6-4 ball game.
I wouldn't be surprised if that got him maybe on the knee or maybe the top of the ankle, because it looks like he's having some trouble walking there. And if he doesn't stay in this game, that's the second catcher for both teams that's going to be taken out of the game. Acosta, a very good defensive catcher at least from what we've seen today. But looks like he's going to try and tough it out and stay in this one. You always got to respect a lot of catchers. It just tends to be a very, very gritty position. Those guys are used to getting beaten up, and definitely one of the toughest positions in baseball to play.
A lot of toughness shown there by Acosta for sure. It looks like he will.
Yeah, probably a good idea. Probably a good idea to see if he can still run before they keep him in there. But looks like he's shaking it off. He's going to keep going. Obviously, one thing we're watching, Cohen really. We haven't really seen if he has the strike zone. His first pitch was a bunt, and the last 4 pitches were all over the place for Cohen. So a big spot here. He definitely does better against lefties than he does righties, just with his makeup and how his windup is. But he's going to need to bear down and find the zone in a very, very critical point in this game for the Generals.
Lucky for Cohen, he has now reached the official bottom of this Keystone lineup facing Chris Amirati, the center fielder.
And Cohen missing up and missing away with all of his pitches so far, outside of the one that got away from him where it looked like he just kind of chucked it and stayed in his hand on the hit-by-pitch to Acosta.
1-0 is the count for Amirati, with 1 out on the board for Cohen to work with after reloading the bases with that hit-by-pitch on Acosta. That ball is going to pop out of the glove of Giardino. Doesn't get too far from him. All the runners hold up, and he gets the ball back to Cohen with the count now at 2-0.
6 straight balls for Nathan Cohen. As we see, he takes some time there, bear down. He's got to find himself. He's got to find that arm slot, and he's got to find his spots right here in a huge spot for Washington and Lee.
Definitely curious to see when Ted White will make his next trip up to the mound as Cohen winds up and delivers for a strike that finally breaks that streak of 6 straight balls. The count is now 2-1 as Cohen tries to fight back against Chris Amarati.
Kenneth Hartsfield is warming up in the bullpen, and it looks like he's getting in there over there in a hurry as he warms up.
Some noise from the Keystone bullpen as Cohen once again losing that ball high, and the count is now 3-1, and chance of in jeopardy of bringing another run home via walk. Cohen winds up, pitch on its way.
Big pitch for Nate.
Swing and a miss by Amarati. That'll boost your confidence a little bit. Now a full count, 3-2, 1 out, bases loaded. This is a potential game-changing pitch on the way from Nate Cohen.
Oh, yeah, it's big time. This is it. This is probably the biggest pitch of this game to date. Let's see if Cohen can bear down and get the out in this spot.
Cohen delivers payoff pitch on the way, and he caught Amarati swinging. The second out now on the board for the Generals as Cohen tries to get the Generals out of this jam with the bases loaded.
And Crawford, how do you like that? Nate couldn't buy a strike in those first 6 or 7 pitches. Then on those last 2 pitches, he hits his spot, pinpoint exactly where he wanted it, and exactly at the right time to keep the Generals in striking distance in this game.
Cohen now facing a test here as Keystone hits the top of their lineup. Joe Ficara, the right fielder, up to bat now, and he will take the first pitch from Cohen for ball 1. It looks like we are finally starting to see some action in the Keystone bullpen. We'll see what the result is there. Keystone with gray uniforms with dark blue numbers, so pretty hard to read from a distance as this one is hit by Ficara into right field. Giving it chase is Ryan Munson, and he makes an over-the-shoulder catch to finally pull the Generals out of the trouble. So bases were loaded instead. Keystone ends up stranding 3 runners. Cohen with some heroics here in the top of the 7th. It's time to stretch here, Captain Dick Smith Field. We'll be back after the break. Crawford Humphreys and James Lafferty live on the call here at Captain Dick Smith Field on the campus of Washington and Lee University. And Nate Cohen, who was subbed into the game in the top of that 7th inning, bailing the Generals out of some trouble. The score is now 6-4. Could have been much worse there as the Giants strand 3 runners, strand a loaded base path.
That'll bring up John Sunshine Raymond. He's 1 for 8 in his Generals career at the plate, looking for his 2nd career hit right here.
Raymond getting set here. The count is 1-0, and he will hit that one. Bounces into the glove of Abreu over at third base, and that's a quick throw for Abreu over to Goldsberry at first base to get Raymond out there in the first at-bat at the bottom of the 7th inning.
Crawford, that's what we've seen this entire game. The Generals rolling over a lot early on a lot of these pitches, and that's why they really haven't been able to break out except for that first inning. Let's see, Gazin in his 4th at-bat of the day here, 4th time through the order. That's tough if you're a pitcher. Let's see if he can find a way to bear down and still get these guys out, as they've seen him 3 times now.
Hinckley remaining in the game for the Giants, delivering the first pitch this at-bat to Jackson Gazin. And that went down the middle for a strike. Hinckley with some solid production all day, keeping the Generals at bay and preventing any sort of run that we saw yesterday, like that 8th inning where the Generals were able to put up 7 straight runs.
And Hinckley pitching into the 7th inning right now, obviously some movement in the bullpen. What the coach is going to be looking for is his velocity staying the same, and is he hitting the same spots that he did on early in this game. So far he has, but that's remained to be seen.
Hinckley delivers to Gazen, and Gazen will hit this one over Manny Rojas, the shortstop. It's recovered by Kelly in left field, but not before Gazen can trot over to first base for a single with 1 out on the board.
And that's what the Generals need in this game. They need to be able to stay back on a slower pitcher like this. That's when they're going to have their success. We've seen a lot of the hits that come in this game have come to the opposite side of the field. We saw with Gazen there. Big spot getting on base. The Generals need some runs. Let's see if this is it. Perkins, who tripled in his last at-bat, one of the big hitters for this team. A freshman hitting in the 2 role, getting starting time in the outfield. Big spot for him early in his Generals career.
Perkins, the number 2 hitter, 3 at-bats, 2 hits, and 1 RBI as Gazen immediately takes off towards second base. That ball heading over towards center field. That is over the head of Chris Amirati, bouncing up against the wall, and Gazen is going to come home all the way from first after that 1-out double from Perkins. The lead is now just 1 run once again for Keystone, and the Generals are back knocking on the Giants' door.
And Zach Perkins, have yourself a day. The young freshman, 2 RBIs in this game, 2 extra base hits, all coming in big opportunities, both of them scoring Jackson Gazen. You got to be happy if you're Zach Perkins right now and how you started. Right now the Generals have the tying run in scoring position. You have your 2 best hitters, Jason Volpicelli, 340 hitter last year. Ryan Munson, the next guy, 360 hitter. This is a huge spot if you're the Generals. If you're Zach Perkins, last time you were on second base with your previous double, he got picked off. You don't want to do that this time. Right now, he's the tying run. You have 2 strong hitters up. If you're Perkins, you let them do the work. You get a good jump off the bat if the ball's in play and try and score on anything hit to one of the outfielders.
Yeah, no reason for Perkins to get too aggressive on the base paths here. We know how much Nathan Hinckley is mindful of the runners on the base path, frequently checking those, and especially when they're at first base. As Volpicelli, the shortstop, who has been the cornerstone of this Generals defense, up to bat now, stepping in the batter's box. He will take the first pitch from Hinckley for a strike, with the tying run in scoring position on second base in the form of Perkins.
Hinckley knows how big this situation is. Steps off. Looks like he's trying to reroute his signs with his catcher to make sure they're on the same page. Good first pitch curveball from him, really low in the zone. Nothing you can really do from that. If Volpicelli swings at that, odds are I think he grounds it out to shortstop or third base. And that might be it for Nathan Hinckley. We'll see a big spot here. Let's see if what the call coach makes.
We will see what happens. A lot of action going on in the Keystone bullpen right now, and still some going on in the General side as well. But Zach Perkins taking his spot over at second base. He is the game-tying run. 6-5 is the score. So we have yet to see what the signal is and what will happen to Nathan Hinckley, the right-handed junior.
I think they're going to keep him in because looking over at the bullpen, only one of the catchers just got down in the crouching position for the first time. So probably not ready to go after only throwing 2 pitches over there in the bullpen. I think he's probably talking to him, getting the defense on the same page, seeing what they might try and run a play over at second base with Perkins taking a big lead off, and just trying to make sure you're in the right frame of mind for what right now is probably the 2 biggest at-bats coming up in this game so far.
Volpicelli, a dangerous hitter, batting .263 on the season. He's had 3 at-bats today, 1 hit, and has accounted for 1 RBI as well. As he gets set, Hinckley will remain on the mound for the Giants. Perkins once again taking a pretty sizable lead over at second base. Volpicelli awaits the pitch. That one's going to be low for ball 1 to even this count at 1-1.
Another slider. He obviously knows Jason Volpicelli is a very, very good fastball hitter. I remember my time on the W&L team, in practice, if I executed my best fastball to Jason Volpicelli, he would still find a way to put it in the gap. He's a very, very good hitter. Can't throw him any good fastballs here. He's going to rip it.
Hinckley with the wind-up, the pitch, and that one in virtually the same spot.
2 different pitches, though. First one was a slider down and away. That one a fastball. He's throwing the same pitches. He's throwing in the exact same spot, but coming from a different arc. That's tough if you're a batter and smart if you're Nathan Hinckley. One thing I've been very impressed by him today is his ability to mix spots, throw the ball where he wants it, and change the batter's eye level. Those are very important things if you're a pitcher, and honestly, from what I've seen, that is much more important than how hard you throw. It's can you change speeds? Can you mix locations? Can you hit your spots? Can you change the batter's eye level? If you can do that, that's a lot better than throwing 88 in straight. If you can throw low 80s and do that, you're in a much better spot.
Count is 2-1 for Volpicelli, who chops that one foul just past the Keystone dugout.
I mean, we saw it there. That's a good pitch. There's really nothing you could do with it. Probably not a strike, but probably too close to take in that spot. But if you put that ball in fair territory, that's a blooper towards the infield. All you can do is pull that foul.
So Hinckley working with an even 2-2 count with one on, Volpicelli looming and trying to get the tying run home as Perkins takes his lead over at second base. Action in both bullpens.
Perkins taking his time here. Big spot in this game in Crawford. Great day for baseball, and looks like we're coming up on a good finish to this game.
Definitely going to be similar to what we saw last night, where the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings proved crucial in the game-deciding innings. As Keystone mounted a little bit of a comeback late in yesterday's game. That pitch outside as well.
Perkins wanted that one. Hinckley wanted that one.
That will make it a full count, 3-2 now. Payoff pitch on the way from Nathan Hinckley with one out on the board and a runner in scoring position.
This could be his last batter of the game.
Volpicelli getting set here. Pitch is on its way, and that is going to be just catch the bottom of the strike zone to the dismay of the Generals bullpen. That will be a strikeout looking for Nathan Hinckley.
Crowd did not like that one.
Volpicelli
does not like that one.
Walks back to the dugout with his head down. That puts 2 outs on the board now as Ryan Munson, the right fielder, comes to the plate, and it looks like we will finally see that pitching change that you talked about earlier.
And if that was it for Nathan Hinckley, and this is his second trip out to the mound, so it's going to be it for him. If that's it for Nathan Hinckley, that's a great day. He did a great job mixing his pitches today. Great job hitting his spots. Great job getting a lot of tough Generals hitters out. And he came up in the spot where he needed with one of the best hitters in the ODAC conference with the tying run in scoring position. He made the absolute perfect pitch at the perfect time that he needed to get out of that jam.
Mound discussion still going on. Hinckley has not left the pitcher's mound, is not heading back yet towards the Keystone dugout, although there has been an exodus from the Giants bullpen. And Hinckley finally makes his way with a round of applause back to the Keystone dugout.
Good game for the big righty.
85 pitches. He allowed 10 hits, 5 runs, all of those earned, just 1 walk and 4 strikeouts. And that last strikeout of Jason Volpicelli proving crucial and possibly could be a game-changing play, depending on how this thing goes.
Yeah. And, with 85 pitches, I was a little surprised they took him out with the way he looked. With the way he was pitching, I was a little surprised that he took him out, but also it's early in the season. You don't want to bump those pitch counts up too early. And from what we're seeing right here from the reliever, looks like he has some heat on his fastball.
Ramon Disla is the pitcher now for the Giants. The senior right-hander is taking his warm-up pitches on the pitcher's mound. Ryan Munson is due up now for the Generals. Volpicelli definitely still trying to swallow that last call, that strike call. Very low in the strike zone. Disla gets set.
Ramon Disla was one of the top pitchers last year for the Giants. He had a 2.19 ERA, 3-0 in 11 appearances, 12 innings. And in those 12 innings, he struck out 12 hitters, and he had a 220 batting average against. So a good start last year for Ramon Disla. Let's see if he can keep it up. Huge situation coming up here. Ryan Munson, the Generals' batting average leader last year, against Ramon Disla, one of the top ERA leaders last year for the Giants. Power on power. He's a hard thrower. He's got some nice stuff from what we're seeing here in warm-ups. Munson missed a home run by about maybe 5 feet in height in his last at-bat. So this is some fun stuff. 1-run game. 2 of the best players on each team's going at it against each other. Power versus power. Fun stuff to watch.
Definitely interesting to see who will win this matchup as Zach Perkins, the center fielder, still waits on second base. He will be the tying run in this game, and I am sure he wants to see some movement after staying at second base for what feels like an eternity as Munson takes a few practice swings and steps into the batter's box here to await the first pitch of today's game from Ramon Disla, the senior right-hander.
Generals, who have started off this season 4-0, looking to go to 5-0, something that they've done in the past couple of years is start off seasons hot. They don't want to drop their first game of the season here. They're looking for that sweep and a big at-bat for Munson as he takes the first pitch.
Disla delivers. That one fell right into Munson's feet, so that will go as ball one, counted as 1-0. 2 outs on the board for Disla to work with, so not the worst situation to inherit. But still a lot on the line here as the Generals just 1 run behind with a runner on second base and at the top of their lineup.
Hinckley, who gave up 5 earned runs, leaves in a position to get the win today. If that run scores, that'll be accounting for his run. That'll be his 6th earned run, and he cannot get the win if Perkins scores, but he also can't get the loss.
Disla getting set on the mound. Munson knows this is a big moment here, and it looks like there's going to be a discussion between Disla and his catcher, Julio Acosta.
Got to make sure you're on the same page. You can't get crossed up here and let a ball go by the catcher. Don't want a runner on third here with 2 outs.
Well, and especially with the backstop here at Captain Dick Smith Field.
If you let 2 of them go by, then you got a tie ball game. Definitely a major league backstop here at Captain Dick.
Disla gets set again. Munson back in the batter's box.
Taking his time at 1-0. Obviously, one thing that's going to be interesting to see with Disla, he throws a little harder than the last guy did. Comes in at a different arm angle. He's got a little more movement on his fastball. A different adjustment for the hitters to get their timing down off Disla.
Second pitch of this at-bat is on the way from Disla, and this one is going to be popped into left field by Munson. Centering himself under it is Adam Kelly, and he will get the 3rd out of the inning. So the Generals able to tack on another run. However, the deficit still remains 1 run. It is 6-5 after 7 here at Captain Dick Smith Field. We'll be back after the break. Crawford Humphreys and James Laverty back live here on WLUR All Access, and yet another pitching change here for the Generals in the top of the 8th inning as Kenny Hartsfeld takes the mound. He will face Nick Carlini, the number 2 batter on this Keystone Giants batting order for today.
Kenny Hartsfeld, the hard-throwing right-hander last year, 8 appearances, 1 start, had an 0-3 record, 10.64 ERA, gave up 16 hits in 11 innings, 12 strikeouts. He's a guy, he throws hard. He throws with some movement. He's got a nice curveball, but for him, it's all about command. If he can get that done, he is a different pitcher. And so one of the things that I think we're going to be looking for here in this at-bat with Hartsfeld, he is obsessed with the number 90. Can he throw 90 miles an hour? He can, but sometimes he takes some off of his command to get to it. For him, when he doesn't worry about that number and he's just worried about hitting spots and getting some movement on that fastball, he becomes a much nastier pitcher. In his senior year, we're hoping that's what we're going to see from Hartsfeld.
2-0 is the count after the first 2 pitches of Hartsfeld's time on the mound thus far in today's game. He delivers, and this one is going to be fouled over towards the Generals' dugout, so the count will go to 2-1.
Took a little off that one. Looked like he threw a cutter there. get it in
Generals
for a strike.
still finding themselves 1 run behind as both teams tacked on an extra run in the 7th inning. So the Generals still looking to make a little bit of a comeback here after stalling a little bit offensively in the bottom of the 7th inning and stranding a runner on second base. Hartsfeld delivers, and there caught Carlini swinging for strike 2, so count even out 2-2.
Blew it by him there. Hartsfeld off to a good start.
Hartsfeld once again getting set. Carlini 4 at-bats today, 1 hit, 1 strikeout to his name as he gets set in the batter's box here. And Carlini will call time.
This is Hartsfeld's first appearance of the year. Over his career, he's got a 2-5 record, 8.44 ERA, 33 appearances, 47 strikeouts over 48 innings. Some even more movement over there in the Jennies bullpen.
Hartsfeld gets gets the signal from Giardino, and a nasty curveball there for strike 3. So the first out of the inning is on the board, courtesy of Hartsfeld, in a strikeout, the first batter he's faced in today's game.
And Crawford, that is Kenny Hartsfeld at his best. Not too worried about velocity, mixing up his pitches, mixing his location with the fastball, taking some off, putting some movement on the fastball, and then just pulling the string on the curveball. That was a pretty strike 3.
Beautiful pitch there as Nick Morrow, R.J. Goldsberry comes up to bat now.
Goldsberry, an interesting decision, I think, right now for the Giants. They're 3 and 4 hitters. Both of them had about 50, 60 at-bats last year, and both hit under 200. So hopefully, at least for the Giants, maybe there was some improvement in their hitting over the offseason. You don't want to have your 3 and 4 hitters hitting under 200.
So it looks like we actually are going to see a pinch hitter here, Nick Morrow, the right-hander first baseman, coming in to pinch hit for Goldsberry. And he narrowly avoids getting hit by Hartsfeld on that pitch. So the count evens at 1-1 with 1 out on the board after that big strikeout to keep things going for Hartsfeld.
Hartsfeld has a lot of confidence in that curveball, as we've seen him throw it for strikes in a couple of appearances here. Kenny blows it by him there. A lot of movement on that pitch, too, and it was pretty hard, right where he wanted. From a righty pitcher throwing a hard two-seamer that starts in the middle of the plate and breaks off away, that is very hard to lay off of, and it's very hard to hit.
A lot of movement, a lot of speed, and another batter caught looking by Hartsfeld as the count goes to 1-2. And this time Merrow's going to make contact, and that one will drop just in front of Ryan Munson in right field. He'll toss that one back into the infield. But not before Morrow can take his spot over at first base. So a 1-out single by Morrow to get things going offensively for the Giants. As Adam Kelly, who had that massive home run earlier and has since been kept relatively quiet, comes up to the batter's box and looks to extend this Giants lead.
And you wonder if Hartsfeld, a guy who has struggled with command over his career, is cognizant of the fact that Kelly hit a screeching home run earlier in this game, a big spot. Don't want to let something like that happen again.
Hartsfeld gets set, delivers. Morrow showing some movement over at first base. The first pitch on its way down the middle for strike 1.
I mean, Hartsfeld right now, he is locating that curveball better than I've ever seen him locate it over the course of his Generals career. Good sign for him early in the season.
Kelly getting set in the batter's box, awaiting the pitch from Hartsfeld, who delivers. And that one's going to be low and outside for ball 1. So the count at 1-1 now. With 1 out on the board, Morrow with a lot of movement over at first base. Hartsfeld not checking him just yet. Eyeballing him every now and then, but not making any throws over to that side. Instead, we'll send another strike on the way to Kelly via a curveball.
He took a lot. He took a lot off that one to get in the zone, but he's changing timing to Scott here. Probably you should be a little careful. If you're going to take that much off, you probably shouldn't leave the curveball that high in the zone with a power hitter like here. But now, in a 1-2 count.
2 strikes on the board now, and Hartsfeld hungry for another strikeout as fourth pitch of this at-bat is on the way, and it will be hit foul by Kelly. And bounces against the fence of the Giants dugout.
And a good battle by Scott there. Kenny threw his best curveball low, below the knees. All you can do as a hitter in that situation is foul it off. If you foul off a pitcher's best curveball, that's going to frustrate them. A good battle going on here. Some power against power again.
1-2, still the count with 1 out. Morrow hanging around at first base. That pitch way outside, and that will bump the count to 2-2. Giardino having to get out of his shoes to stretch out and grab that one. Kelly gets back, gets set. 3 at-bats, 2 hits, 2 RBIs. So that, of course, that monster home run in the top of the 3rd inning. As Hartsfeld delivers, and that one's going to be high inside.
Some extra juice on that one, but not where he wanted to locate it. So Kenny, obviously, something we've seen from him. Sometimes he's a better pitcher when he takes a little off because he's got nasty stuff, especially at the Division III level. Not a lot of guys you see throwing as hard as he does or with as much movement and deception.
So full count here, a massive payoff pitch on the way from Hartsfeld. And Kelly's going to make contact with that one. It's going towards center field. That one will bounce on the wall over the head of Zach Perkins, who tosses it back into the infield, but not before a run can score. That was Nick Morrow coming all the way from first base to score on that one.
What a game for Scott. The solo home run, now the RBI double. Big game for him right now. He's the difference in this game. 2 absolute mammoth shots. That one to the farthest part of the ballpark, probably traveled about 385 feet. Not what you love to see if you're Hartsfeld. Now another pinch hitter here. You want to see if he can bounce back in a big spot. Still only down by 2. I mean, we remember yesterday the Generals scored, 7 runs in that one inning? So you know that they could always explode offensively against this Keystone team. You hope that they do. Hartsfeld going to need to bear up here and try and get out of this spot. And obviously we see, looks like Jackson Thigpen, I believe, is warming up in the bullpen. He closed the game yesterday. Actually, I'm not sure if that's Thigpen.
Yeah, after going 7, 8
definitely
innings
definitely not
yesterday.
Thigpen in the bullpen. Might be.
Logan Lixie is one. Or excuse me, that's Chris Cotton warming up.
That's Cotton. Similar mechanics.
And now Kaharski is the one up to bat for the Giants. He's the one pinch hitting. Kaharski, one of the biggest guys
Look at that.
on this Keystone
Little mind
team
games right there.
with a lot of power as he calls time just as Hartsfeld was getting set to throw that ball. So the score is 7-5. The lead has been restored to 2 runs after that RBI double from Adam Kelly, who's been putting this Keystone offense on his back all day. That ball is going to be hit straight over to Volpicelli at shortstop. And Kaharski is going to get thrown out over at first base for the second out of the inning.
Volpicelli, definitely not a play at third, but he had all day to make that play over there at first, regardless of how slow it was hit. Makes the right play. Jenny's got 2 away. Now all you need is an out to get out of here.
Smart play. A runner still remains on third base as Adam Kelly 90 feet away from making this now a 3-run ball game for the Giants. Up to bat now is Devin Reed, who has had 1 at-bat in today's game after pinch hitting for Brian Diaz, a designated hitter.
Devin Reed, a .340 hitter last year over 26 games. He did that in 88 at-bats, had 2 triples, 8 doubles, and 13 RBIs.
That one is going to be fouled over the Keystone dugout, so the count will go even at 1-1 with 2 outs on the board. Score still 7-5. Generals still needing a stop here. As Hartsfeld gets set on the mound, he delivers to Reed, and that one's going to be outside for ball 2. Hartsfeld once again getting set on the mound. That's Adam Kelly, who's 90 feet from making this a 3-run game.
You wonder if you're Hartsfeld right here. Don't give him – you probably are just nibble away at the plate, not really giving him anything to hit. Hartsfeld's a lot harder to hit as a righty batter. Also, Rojas on deck is not as strong of a hitter, at least so far in the season, as Reed's been. So, yeah, Hartsfeld probably not looking to throw him anything he could hit there, knowing that he can get the righty out a little easier. This looks like another pinch hitter, though.
So Hartsfeld with a walk there of of Devin Reed, the designated hitter. So 2 outs on the board, but now runners on the corners, and a little bit more trouble for Hartsfeld to work with as we have yet another pinch hitter as Chris Hadsall will be pinch hitting for Manny Rojas, the shortstop.
Chris Hasdell, a smaller sample size, but in 39 at-bats last year, 16 hits, 3 doubles, 8 RBIs. That's good for a .410 batting average. So this is definitely a Giants team that can hit the ball. If you're Hartsfield here, you probably want to rely on that curveball that's been working so well for you all day and keep that hard fastball in on his hands. You don't want to let any more hits come from this inning.
That pitch high and inside by Hartsfeld.
Challenging him
Count 1-0.
inside, but not getting his fingers on top of the ball. Leaving that ball up in the zone. Not where you want to leave it if you're Hartsfeld. That's why Kelly got that big RBI double. Kenny he needs to pound the zone low, and he's got to keep it inside on their hands.
Hartsfeld set on the mound here, set to deliver to Chris Hadsall, who will take that pitch for ball 2 to the dismay of the Generals faithful sitting just in front of us.
Oh, yeah.
They thought that was a strike.
They've definitely been chirping a little today on some of these calls, but that tends to happen when you have a home crowd.
Hadsall set in the batter's box, awaiting the pitch. Third pitch of this at-bat with 2 outs on the board. Generals need something here, and that is not what the Generals need. That's in the gap between left and center field. 1 run will score, another rounding third, and that will be a 2-run RBI double for Chris Hadsall to make this a 4-run lead for the Keystone Giants. And just like that, the game is getting out of hand for the Generals.
Not over yet. Still 4 runs. You have 6 outs to get 4 runs if you can keep this guy from scoring. But that was a turning point in this game for the Generals. Absolutely, Crawford.
So Hartsfield will remain on the mound. It looks like Ted White is still staying in the dugout. There is still some action. Still some action in that Generals bullpen. But the score is now 9-5 here at Captain Dick Smith Field. Up to bat now, Julio Acosta. So we've kind of ended the string of pinch hitters from the Giants as Acosta steps in the batter's box with a runner now on second. That's Chris Hadsall after that big 2-run RBI double. Hartsfield delivers, and that one's going to be high for ball 2.
Acosta has been an on-base machine today for the Giants. He's had 2 hits, the walk and the hit by pitch in his last at-bat. He's still in the game after that hit by pitch that looked pretty bad when he was limping over to first base. But now he's trying to get on base for a 5th time today with a 2-0 count already.
Acosta, number 8 hitter on this Giants lineup, takes that ball inside. And a quick 3-0 count in favor of Acosta. Hartsfield needing to fight back here. Just needs 1 out to bail the Generals out in what has been a 3-run 8th inning so far for Keystone.
Hartsfield starting to lose the zone a little now.
Got it back there as he continues to fight back in this count. It is now 3-1 with 2 outs.
Smart job by Hartsfield. You see he took a couple miles an hour off of that pitch, but he located it low and in. Not much you could do with that as a hitter.
Hartsfield delivers, and that's going to be just above the strike zone. So another walk for Hartsfield will put runners on first and second.
There comes Coach Ted White. It looks like, let's see if he makes the call here. You got 2 on and 2 outs. Interesting to see if he has any more faith in Hartsfield.
Action still going in both bullpens. We'll see what Coach Ted White says to this Generals defense. The infield gathers on the pitcher's mound. What was once just a 2-run lead has now been bumped to 4. It is 9-5. In the top of the 8th inning here at Captain Dick Smith Field, and Generals looking to right the ship before things get out of hand.
And it's interesting because this looked like a game earlier on that the Generals clearly had, or at least it looked like from up in the booth here, that they had the stronger offense, but we've seen in this last inning or two that the Giants have really come out. They got some runs early on from errors and walks, and now they're really starting to hit the ball. So Hartsfield will stay.
Hartsfield will stay as Ted White retreats back to the Generals' dugout. Infield goes back to their respective positions. 2 outs still on the board. Hartsfield looking to bail the Generals out after what has already been a massive inning for the Giants, capitalizing on their lead.
I would imagine this probably is Hartsfield's last hitter with 2 outs here, and you have the bottom of the lineup. I don't think they're probably going to let him face the top of the lineup, so I think White probably was giving Cotton some more time to warm up in the bullpen and letting Kenny bear down for this last hitter for him.
Hartsfield delivers, and that one barely avoiding the batter there. Amirati up to bat for the Giants. That one narrowly avoided his chin.
Yeah.
He had to duck out of the way of that one.
And if you're a coach, and I've heard a lot of coaches say this, when you go out to a bullpen, you just kind of hope that pitcher throws a first pitch strike or does really well right after, because that makes the coach looks really good. Good job by Hartsfield there. Kept it in on his hands. Not much you could do with it. You could see that as a number 9 hitter, he was very late. That is one thing about Kenny. He has really nasty stuff. He throws hard. He's not even throwing his hardest yet. Obviously, a lot of the velocities that we're seeing right here, it's early in the season. It's pretty cold weather out. They really don't get up there until April or May. Wow, that was nice. That was a nice curveball there as it's a 1-2 count. But a lot of these velocities don't get up. If Hartsfield, he has probably a lot nastier stuff than I think 95% of Division III pitchers. If he can just locate the stuff, he can be one of the best pitchers for this Generals team, but that's remained to be seen.
1-2 count with 2 outs. Chris Amirati is the batter that Hartsfield is facing, and that's going to be called ball 2 to even up this count. Amirati,
just a bit outside.
Amirati with 4 at-bats, 1 hit, 2 strikeouts in today's game. He's at the very bottom of this Giants batting order, the center fielder. But again, like you said, Hartsfield, probably not the guy you want facing the top of this order, and I'm sure Ted White has kept that in mind as that ball is fouled over the Generals dugout to keep the count at 2-2. Runner still on first and second for the Giants with Julio Acosta at first and Chris Hadsall, who had that massive RBI double, standing on second. That's going to bounce off the shoe of the catcher Giardino, and both runners will advance. It feeds into the backstop. Just kind of a sloppy play there by the catcher.
It took a really weird bounce right there. I'm not sure if it hit the shoe or if it hit the front of home plate. Either way, Giardino was there, and he was in a position to make a block. Luckily, he got enough of it so that didn't go to the backstop. But Hartsfield is a guy that has been known to throw a lot of wild pitches, and with the way his curveball and his fastball moves, as a catcher, it can be tough to block.
Hartsfield gets set, facing Amirati, and he will walk yet another batter. That will be Hartsfield's 3rd walk of the day. He has just one strikeout to go with that, and the bases are once again loaded for the Giants, who have a 4-run lead here in the top of the 8th inning, and the bleeding has not stopped for the Generals since.
And looks like some movement from Coach White, but not quite coming out of the dugout. I think he's going to let Kenny face this hitter.
Joe Ficara is the batter. He is number 1.
Grounded out to short.
On the Giants batting order, and he fouled that one over the net for strike 1.
Grounded out to short in his last at-bat. I think the Generals would more than take that right now. Obviously a very different at-bat than facing Carson McCoon or Nate Cohen. That's one of the interesting things we've seen today with the Generals. They mix and match a lot of different types of pitchers.
Hartsfield delivers, and that one is going to look like it bounced off the bat.
Looked like
of Ficara.
I guess they're going to call it a ball. It looked like he went there. From this angle, and obviously this is a tough angle, but it really looked like he bit on that. But it'll just be ball 2, or count will be 2-0.
Yeah, definitely a weird call there as Hartsfield gets set once again. And Ficara is going to hit that one straight to Volpicelli. Is the throw in time? No, it skirts past the glove of Brian Wickman. Another run will score, and now runners on second and third after another big play from the Keystone Giants, who seem to just be laying everything on the Washington Lee Generals right now.
And 2 runs will score there. This game not quite over yet, but that is a bad sign for the Generals. And if they go down to lose this game, that is going to be what Coach Ted White talks to his team about after the game, was the amount of errors that we saw in this game. Their season high coming into this game was 3. They've had 5 errors today and a lot more mental fielding mistakes to go along with it. Just not a pretty game for the Generals on defense.
Wickman unable to get hold of that ball. They're now runners on second and third. Nick Carlini up to bat, the number 2 hitter, the second baseman for the Giants. But the Giants now with a commanding 11-5 lead late in this game. We're in the top of the 8th inning here on the campus of Washington and Lee University, and the Generals desperately looking to get out of this inning. As Hartsfield looks for some rhythm, he throws a strike there to put the count at 0-2 and desperately needs a strikeout to get the Generals an opportunity to bring this game back to within grasp.
I mean, it's an interesting situation now that it's kind of it's not as high of a leverage situation anymore. Now Kenny's throwing hard and hitting his spots. That was his best at bat right there.
And a big swing and a miss by Nick Carlini. That's 3 strikes pitched. No balls there by Hartsfeld, and he gets the Generals out of a situation not before the Generals allow 5 runs from the Keystone Giants. The score is 11-5 after 8.5 here at Captain Dick Smith Field. Crawford Humphreys and James Laverty here. And James, what did you see from the Generals that caused such a big run by Keystone?
It went back to what they looked like earlier in this game. You thought they had their defense figured out, but turns out that wasn't quite the case. This was the pitching has not been as bad as 11 runs. The hitting has probably been a little better than 5 runs, but the defense has just been the absolute crux of this game. That's the storyline of this game. When you're a pitcher and you get a ground ball at the college level, you expect to get an out or a double play. You don't expect it to turn into 2 runs and thrown away, and that makes it even harder on pitchers when you have errors. You trust your defense less. You don't throw as many strikes, and it's a lot harder for you to have confidence in throwing into the strike zone. And so that's really just been the name of this game. It's something that the Generals, if they want to get back into the ODAC Conference Tournament after missing it last year, that's something that they're going to have to clean up going forward.
Score again is 11-5 here at Captain Dick Smith Field. The Generals, seems like the difference is night and day between the Generals' defensive performance that we saw last night in the first leg of this 2-game series versus what we've seen today. Last night, amazing communication, holding this Keystone team to just 2 runs, and those came in the second and third innings. However, today we're seeing a lack of communication, a couple of 5 errors, sloppy plays by all around the infield. It just seems like a totally different team.
I mean, the amount, if we were to go back and look at it, the amount of extra pitches that Generals pitchers have had to throw today because of errors is very costly. And in a week coming up where you're on the road and you have 4 games, that's not something you want to do. The amount of extra pitchers they've had to use, the amount of extra pitches they've had to throw, not good for the Generals. Not a great day. I could not imagine that Coach White is a very happy man right now.
Expect to see a pitching change when we return in the top of the 9th inning. But first, the Generals get their crack at this large lead that has been built up by the Giants after that massive 5-run 8th inning. Up to bat now for the Generals.
It's Bryce Burnett, the .280 hitter last year. He is DHing today, getting some time off behind the plate.
Burnett, the number 5 hitter on this Generals batting order, takes a second pitch of this at-bat for strike 1. So the count is 1-1 as he faces Ramon Disla, the senior right-hander that took over last inning. Disla delivers, and that one is going to be hit straight at his feet by Burnett. Fielding it is the second baseman Carlini, but the throw will not be in time. So Bryce Burnett is safe over at first, and the Generals have begun their attack as they look to work themselves back into this game.
Not a chance to make that play, but what an effort fielding that ball. That was extremely hard hit on the other side of the second base bag. Obviously tried to do a little Jeter jump throw there. Not nearly enough time to get the speedy Burnett, but a good effort there keeping the ball in the infield. And that'll bring up Jack Giardino.
Jack Giardino, the catcher who filled in for Luke Seipel earlier in today's game, up to bat now. He has had 1 at-bat and 1 hit so far in today's game. He's got 1 RBI on the season as well.
What a walk-up song, too. Fergalicious. Don't hear that every day. Sure, Giardino had a little fun with that selection.
As Disla, much like his predecessor, checking the runner over at first base, making sure Bryce Burnett isn't taking too big of a lead over there. And now gets set on the mound and delivers to Giardino, who would take that pitch for ball 1.
Just a bit inside, and Disla a different look here than Hinckley was, throwing a little bit harder and a little more movement on that fastball. Little taller, little lengthier, a little quirkier with the way he throws it. Definitely a different arm slot to look at if you're a Washington and Lee hitter. So definitely an adjustment they're going to have to make. We'll see if Giardino, who had a double in that last at-bat, can do it.
Pitch on the way from Disla, and that one's going to be low in the dirt for ball 2. No outs on the board, 2-0, runner on first as the Generals look to mount a comeback here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
2-0 count, a good start for the Generals. They got the leadoff runner on, Giardino in a good hitter's count right now. Let's see if they can capitalize.
Giardino set, and that pitch down the middle for strike 1. So the count now at 2-1 as Disla attempts to battle back here and put an out on the board.
That's a good pitch right there, and you have to have your timing down with how hard that pitch was thrown, movement on the inside half. Not an easy hit if you're Giordino there. A good spot hit on the 2-0 count there by Disla.
Fourth pitch of this at-bat is on the way from Disla, and that one is going to be hit over the head of the second baseman, Cardellini, by Giordino, who gets to first base.
Giordino doing
Burnett on third now.
Giordino doing such an excellent job today of staying back. That's the second hard hit ball that he's driven to right center field.
Burnett will take his place at third base. The Generals again trying to make this comeback, down 6 runs.
Like we said, last inning was a really ugly one for them, but it's baseball. You can't run out the clock. It isn't over yet.
Plenty of time left, and they are 90 feet away from tacking on one that would cut this lead to 5. Up to bat now, the first baseman, Brian Wickman.
Wickman had a base hit in his last at bat, so he's had a good day so far.
1 walk, 1 hit, 1 RBI as that ball
one
in the dirt. Taking off from first is Giordino, who will make it to second.
They got really, 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 really lucky right there. That ball, I think it went right off the umpire. If that ball gets by him, that's a run. Instead, it stays in front of him to the point where Burnett was not going to be able to score on the pass ball.
And just a weird play all around. Julio Casa kind of stopped in his tracks, didn't give chase to the ball, which forced Ramon Disla to run all the way from the pitcher's mound to recover it. And by that point, Giordino was 3/4 of the way to second base, and there was no reason to even make the throw over there.
And it looks like they're probably going out to the mound to talk to each other. They probably had signs mixed up there. Usually you don't miss a ball by that much unless you thought another pitch was coming. Always tough when you're a catcher and you're thinking a curveball's coming, then a fastball comes and hits you in the gut. Those are definitely tough guys. He goes over, says a couple words to the umpire who just took that hard fastball right to the gut. But now you got a man on second and third. This game ain't over yet.
Disla getting set here. Wickman set in the batter's box with runners on second and third, 2 in scoring position. That ball is going to be called for strike 1 of this at-bat, so 1-1 is the count.
Right down the pipe. Looks like Wickman was probably taking all the way. That was probably a pretty good pitch to hit.
Wickman getting set. Disla keeping his eye on the runners on second and third. He pitches, and Wickman is going to foul this one into the Generals' bullpen. So the count will go 1-2.
Wickman looked like he liked that pitch. He had put a real good swing on it, just missed it timing-wise. Wickman looking pretty comfortable on the plate right now.
Wickman with a strong game offensively as well. He came into this game batting .222 with 2 runs and 5 RBIs. He's added another today, 1 hit as well, another walk. He's been getting on bases, though, and almost all of his opportunities at the plate.
Wickman, a pretty powerful hitter. He's beefed up a little since last year. He's definitely a guy that can put one in the gap.
Pitch from Disla is on the way, and that one is going to be hit into right field. Giving it chase is the right fielder, Fakera, and that one drops in front of him just as he slides. So 1 will score courtesy of that RBI from Brian Wickman. Now runners on the corners, and the Generals are 1 closer to the Giants' lead.
Good job by Wickman there. Tough pitch to hit. He gives it an inside-out swing and hits it into what they call the Bermuda Triangle of the outfield, right in between the second baseman, first baseman, and right fielder where it couldn't be hit. Only 1 run's going to score because Giordino had to hold up and make sure that the catch wasn't made. But really good start for the Generals. You wish if those errors didn't happen right now, they'd be feeling really good about their chances in this game. Big spot for Chapin Bassey right here, trying to keep this thing going.
Chapin Bassey, the number 8 hitter in this Generals lineup, as the score is now 11-6 with runners on the corners here. No outs on the board as well as Disla delivers that pitch for a ball. Generals currently working. Bryce Burnett standing on third.
Disla kind of similar to Hartsfield, where he's got, honestly, pretty similar stuff. Hasn't been hitting the zone, and when you do that and you fall behind in counts, that's when you become hittable.
Or excuse me, with Giordino standing on third, he is 90 feet from adding another run here. Instead, he holds up.
He thought about it. He definitely thought about it. Good decision not to. The ball didn't get too far past Acosta.
Taking off towards second was Brian Wickman after that ball. Yet another ball lost by Acosta in the dirt. Had to take off his face mask. Couldn't find it, and that gave Wickman enough time to get to second. However, it was not enough time for Giordino to make the 90-foot run from third to home.
And with Acosta, we were really impressed by his defense early on in this game, but when you're catching a slower pitcher, that becomes a lot easier to do. Right now with Disla and much harder stuff, not going to be as easy.
That one is hit directly to the third baseman, Abreu. And the play is made at home plate, so though that will go down as a single for Chapin Bassi. The play is made at the plate, and Giordino is out at home.
I don't love that decision. I understand you got to be aggressive when you're down by 5 runs and try and make something happen. If that ball gets by him, you probably have another run scored. But when you're down by 5 runs, you don't need to make any extra base running outs. You just want to let guys get up, let them get hits. Not the end of the world. It's only an out. But I don't love the decision to send him there.
So instead of having the bases loaded, there are now runners on the corners with 1 out for the Generals here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Big spot for Jackson Gazen, who is on deck coming up. If Raymond can get on possibly the bases loaded, a righty on lefty situation, we know that Gazen loves to face righty pitchers, excuse me.
Raymond getting set here. Runners on first and third, 1 out. Disla checking the runner at first, now gets set and delivers, and that one straight down the gut for strike 1.
Took a little off that pitch velo-wise, but was able to locate it low and right at the knees. Raymond looking for one of his first big RBI opportunities, and his young Generals. Greer had a hit over the weekend.
That one's going to be chopped down the third base line. Giving it chase was Pedro Abreu, who thought that it could fall fair. Instead, that will go as strike 2 against Raymond.
Some nice hands by Coach Cohen over there. That ball was hit pretty hard. He fielded that right out of his bare hand. Pretty smooth moves over there by Coach.
So Raymond getting set. That pitch is going to bounce out of the glove once again of Acosta. No runners are going to move there. Good job.
Maybe it's
by Ramon Dislov running towards home plate and helping out his catcher, but runners will remain at first and third.
And as a pitcher, that's pretty basic fundamentals of baseball. You're taught if anything looks like it's going to get by the catcher and there's a runner on third, you immediately get to home plate as quickly as you can. I think maybe with Acosta right now, maybe there's a problem with the glove because it seems like he's right on it and the ball's just kind of popping out of it.
Ooh. Disla catches Raymond swinging there, a big swing and a miss, and that will go down as a strikeout to put out 2 on the board.
Good change.
Disla doing a good job despite a runner looming in scoring position, and he will now have a tough test. Jackson Gazen steps up to home plate. Nick Carlini, the second baseman, motioning to his outfielders to back up just a little bit.
And a good, really, really good job pulling the string by Disla on that changeup right there. Looked like his fastball, and the bottom half of the ball just fell out of it at the last second. Good strikeout pitch.
That ball low for ball 1. Very rare that Gazen doesn't swing at the first pitch he sees, which he has done in a few of his previous at-bats. Runners remaining on first and third for the Generals, who are still fighting back, still down 5 in this contest after a big 8th inning for the Keystone Giants. Disla on the mound. He will deliver, and that will be ball 2.
Just like that, Gazen ahead in the count. 2 runners on here. Big spot for him, leading the team this season early on in batting average. Gazen looking to boost that lead even a little more.
Gazen getting set. Back in the batter's box. That pitch is called strike 1. So the count is 2-1 now with 2 outs. Disla trying to work himself out of a hole here and get Keystone out with the lead that they have right now. I think 5 runs is a good lead to take into the top of the 9th inning and a chance to add some more to that. Of course, the momentum in their hands right now as the Generals start to stall.
Disla dials up the radar gun right there. Gazen, couple words for the umpire after that one.
Count is 2-2 with 2 outs, and Disla could be a momentum changing or a momentum confirming pitch here. They have the momentum. This would shut down the Generals entirely and give them the opportunity to add on to their already 5-run lead in the top of the 9th. Disla delivers, and that one actually went off the feet of Acosta. The Generals are able to get a man home and bump their man to second, so the lead is now 4. They are slowly chipping away at it. Acosta is upset with how that pitch turned down. It seems like there is still a lack of communication between Acosta and Disla.
I think it might be a lack of communication, but also he's getting his glove on it. And usually as a catcher, if you get your glove on it, you're a catcher, you're going to catch the ball. But I think there might be a problem with that's just my prediction on it. I think there might be something up with the leather there because it seems like he's catching it and the ball's just popping out. Sometimes you see that with new catcher's mitts when it's not quite broken in yet and you can't get a firm close on it as quickly as you'd like. That's my thought, probably what it's on it, but not something you want in this situation right here as it costs them a run.
That was Brian Wigman scoring from third, and Gazen will be walked there with that loaded count. So now runners on first and second for the Generals, who continue to slowly chip away at this Giants lead. It was once 6 runs. It's now 4. The score is 11-7 with 2 outs here at Gavin Dick Smith Field. And up to bat now for the Generals is Zach Perkins, the center fielder, who had a huge 2-run RBI double.
Yep, actually, Zach Perkins has had 2 RBI doubles today, both of them in big spots. He does that again. You got to remember, you got Gazen on first right there. He can run. So anything in the gap.
Like that ball was in between center and right field. The play is going to try and be made at home. Is the play in time? It is not. And the runner's not out at third either. That's Gazen coming from third, who was able to score. And that is going to be a triple for Zach Perkins that empties the bases.
And they're back in this game, them suffering from a little of what the Generals have suffered all day and some poor fielding decisions. And as I was saying right before, any ball hit hard, Gazen could probably score from first. And that is exactly what happened. And you have a 2-run ball game right now.
So Perkins empties the bases. He is standing on third now. He clears out the 2 base runners that the Generals had earlier. That adds another 2 runs, and the 4-run lead has been cut in half now. It is now 11-1 as Perkins continues his heroics, and it looks like we will have another mound conference as Ramon Disla starts to sputter here in the bottom of the 8th.
And you now have the tying run, Jason Volpicelli at the plate, the go-ahead run, and Ryan Monson on the on-deck circle. Remember, Ryan Monson, he missed a home run by about 5 feet earlier today. He had the distance, just didn't have the height.
And it looks like we are going to have another pitching change here from the Giants of Keystone. Ramon Disla, the senior right-hander, his day is over. And we will see another pitching change as Volpicelli, one of the most volatile offensive players on this Generals roster, comes to the plate. But he will have to wait just a little bit as we get a new pitcher and get some warm-up pitches in. We will be back after the short break. Crawford Humphreys and James Laverty back on WLUR All Access, where the Generals are slowly cutting in to the Giants' lead here at Captain Dick Smith Field. The Keystone Giants sputtering here in the bottom of the 8th inning after putting up 5 runs in the top of the 8th. The score is 11-9 after what was originally a 6-run lead.
And I'm going to be honest with you, Crawford. When I said that the game wasn't over, but when they were up by 6, I thought, yeah, this game's pretty much over. And they've done an amazing job of getting back, just chipping away, getting back into this game. And finally, a defensive mistake went the Generals' way. And we got ourselves a ball game here. You got Volpicelli, he's the tying run up. And you got Ryan Munson on deck. He's the go-ahead run. This is a ball game.
A big pitching change by Keystone as Matt Tarabola takes the mound, and a wild pitch by him that bounced off of his catcher, Julio Acosta, who has been struggling all day, adds another run. So it is now a 1-run ball game as Zach Perkins streaks from third base across home plate. Perkins with some late game heroics. He's been on his game all day offensively.
Responsible for 5 runs today. Big game.
3 RBIs. 2 outs on the board, but some big 2-out production here from the Generals. The score is now 11-10 in the bottom of the 8th. And Volpicelli still up to bat with a 3-0 count.
Tarabola struggling to find that fastball command early on. Kind of interesting. Last year in 11 innings, only 2 walks, but the wild pitch that led to a run. We got a 1-run game. We got a pitcher struggling with some control. Going to be interesting. If Volpicelli gets on, then see if Munson can drive one in the gap, maybe tie this game up.
Munson on deck. Volpicelli up to bat right now against Tarabola. Tarabola delivers, and that one's a clear strike there, trying to battle back in this count that's now 3-1 with 2 outs. But the Generals have stormed back. First, it was a 5-run top of the 8th inning for Keystone. W&L followed it up with a 5-run inning thus far of their own, as this one is looped by Volpicelli into left field for a quick single.
Crawford, we have ourselves a ball game. I did not think when we came into this inning that I would say that the tying run is on base, but there it is. The tying run's on base.
Ryan Munson up to bat now as Tarabola might have one of the hardest pitching jobs of his career, pitching against the meat of this W&L lineup with the game on the line and the lead slowly falling apart. At 11-10, the game-tying run on first base in the form of Jason Volpicelli.
In the 6th inning, Ryan Munson hit one off the righty to the wall, caught on the wall. Be interesting to see what he can do here. I think the matchup plays well with where his arm slot is and the type of swing that Munson has. I think Monson's probably going to try and look to pull a fastball pretty deep to the outfield in this at-bat.
Tarabola checking Volpicelli over at first base. That pitch falls in the dirt. Another one in the dirt.
It's got to be the glove.
Just falling a few inches, though, from Acosta, who's able to pick it up quickly and return it to Tarabola in time. So no blood drawn there. Volpicelli remains at first base.
Tarabola has thrown 5 fastballs today, all 5 for balls.
On deck is Bryce Burnett. 4 at-bats, 1 hit today, but also 2 strikeouts. So not as good as his performance yesterday versus Keystone, but still a good hitter nonetheless, an offensive weapon.
You got to think now, 6 straight balls in a row. Coach is probably telling him you got to lay off it until you get a strike, or if you get one exactly where you want. So not a good spot for Tarabola right here.
Tarabola delivers a little check swing there from Munson. They're going to call it ball 3. So they count 3-0.
Munson thought about it.
In favor of Munson.
Probably took a little off, had a little more movement on that than his previous pitches.
3-0, 2 outs, 11-10 the score. The tying run on first base. Munson up to bat. Pitch on the way. And Ryan Munson will be walked on ball 4. So runners now on first and second. That's Volpicelli on second, Munson on first. And up to bat now is Bryce Burnett, the designated hitter.
Some more movement in the bullpen. Let's see. 8 straight balls. I can't imagine a coach would stick with him for much longer.
We'll see what happens. A little mound conference. We'll see what the signal is.
And it looks like
we will have
a pitching change.
Yet another pitching change.
Seen a lot of those. This started to be a pretty long game, Crawford.
It is number 33 coming into the game for Keystone. That's Patrick Adamski, sophomore right-handed pitcher. And Adamski running in here to replace Matt Tarabola. Terrible only pitched 9 pitches, but put runners on first and second for the Generals. And Terrible begins his march back to the dugout. And we will get some more warm-up pitches here as Adamski gets some time to warm up on the mound, as Julio Acosta also working on his time as well. So the score is 11-2. The tying run is on second base. The game-leading run would be on first base. We'll be back after the pitching warm-up. Crawford Humphreys and James Laverty back live here on WLUR All Access after yet another pitching change for the Giants of Keystone.
Got ourselves a ball game here in Lexington. Tying run on second. Go-ahead run on first. Not something we thought we'd be saying at the beginning of this inning, but total of 10 runs scored in this eighth, top and bottom half, as Burnett takes the first pitch, a slider outside for a 1-0 count.
Bryce Burnett, the designated hitter, up to bat now for the Generals. He is facing Patrick Adamski, the new pitcher in the game for the Giants. Score, as James hinted at, is 11-10 with runners on first and second. And Burnett is going to take that pitch from Adamski for strike one.
Just a bit inside, and this pitcher throwing a little even slower than the last. We've seen with the last two pitchers a little velocity drop as they've changed from each one.
Adamski getting set on the mound. Burnett has not had his best day batting, but is still a solid hitter nonetheless, which is why he's at the top of this Generals lineup. He's going to call time in the batter's box.
And you have Jack Giordino on deck, who himself has a double and a single, both hardline drives to right center field. Be interesting to see if Giordino can get up, if in a game that he wasn't starting and really wasn't expecting to play in, can end up being one of the big factors.
That ball is hit into left field. Volpicelli rounding third, Munson rounding second, and both of those runs will score in an RBI double that has completely turned this game around from Bryce Burnett.
Wow, absolutely. That is not something we were expecting to see. A huge clutch double. Bryce Burnett just changed the complexion of this game as the Generals will take the lead. I don't believe it.
A 6-run eighth inning. Sorry, make that a 7-run eighth inning. The score is 12-11 now here at Captain Dick Smith Field. 23 runs combined for both teams. 2 outs on the board. Talk about 2-out production. And Bryce Burnett now standing another runner in scoring position at second base.
And I don't think the Generals are done yet. Jack Giordino is a guy who's had a very hot game. He's seeing the ball well. He's staying back. He's letting the ball get to him, and he's hitting it well. He could easily have another RBI here and give the Generals a chance, get this, a save opportunity. That's not something we thought we were going to be talking about going into this inning. As you see John Raymond in there, who had a very good game against SVU on Wednesday through 4 shutout innings. He's going to come in now, try and knock this down in the top of the 9th inning for a save.
Giordino has had hits in both of his at-bats in today's game, now facing Adamski, who is in danger of letting this game slip even further from the hands of the Giants.
And you know what? One of the things I would possibly question is some of the pitching changes that have been made over these last 2 halves by the coach of the Giants. For the last 2 pitchers we've seen have had worse and worse stuff than the pitchers that came before them. So you wonder what's going on there.
Adamski delivers, and that one is going straight into that backstop that we have talked about all day as Burnett advances to third base, and he is now 90 feet from the 13th run for the Generals today, a number that we never thought we'd associate
absolutely.
with W&L.
How about 12 runs in an inning? 5 for the Giants and 7 for the Generals here in the bottom half. That not something you see all the time in baseball. We could probably check it out. This inning has probably lasted close to 45 minutes to an hour.
A lot of pitching changes have prolonged it as well.
Oh, yeah.
As Adamski gets set, winds up and delivers. And that one's going to be popped over the Generals' dugout as a foul ball. So the count will go 2-1 for Giardino. Giardino with a couple of heroics of his own in today's game after taking over for Luke Seipel.
I mean, this is a game we're looking at here where you really can't name just one or two kids who have been heroics. The offense everyone's been contributing. And for as bad as their defense was, Coach White's got to be happy with their ability to stay focused, stay tough, stay confident, stay positive, and be able to come back 7 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning. I believe that's the exact same number as yesterday when they won 9-2.
Adamski in jeopardy of giving Giardino a free base, and he ends up doing it. That's ball 4, nearly hits him in the chin, and he will take his place over at first base. So runners on the corners now for the Generals.
Brian Wickman, who's had 2 hits today, or I believe just 1 hit. Wickman's had a hit today, and he also got on from a walk. He's had himself a day. He scored a run earlier today, and so it's interesting stuff we got going on right here. They could have a cushion going into the top of the 9th, something that we didn't think we've seen. And as for the Giants, I don't think you could describe this inning as anything more than just a total collapse.
Bryce Burnett, the designated hitter, standing at third base. That's Jack Giardino, the catcher, over at first. Adamski getting set here to pitch to Brian Wickman, the first baseman, and that first pitch will be a ball. So the count is 1-0. Still 2 outs. Adamski's had 2 outs in his pocket for a long time now, has not had anything, has not contributed to it at all. Has had chances to put the Generals away, has not, and like you said, a complete collapse by the Giants in the bottom of this 8th inning.
And it's got to be tough right now if you're an infielder or an outfielder for the Giants. You've been standing out there for probably up to close to half an hour with all these pitching changes. At one point, you start to get on your heels, get on your toes. I wouldn't be shocked if I saw another defensive error at this point because of the nature of the situation, the ability, and how tough it is to stay focused in a situation like this as an infielder.
The count is 1-1 for Wickman, who has 2 RBIs already on the day. That pitch, beautiful curveball that will go with strike 2. And finally, Adamski with a chance to pull the Giants out of what has been an absolute collapse here in the bottom of this 8th inning.
The Generals, who have not lost a game yet this season, looked like they were going to put the first one on the board.
Curveball there, and that is strike 3. He caught Wickman looking, barely caught the strike zone to the dismay of the Generals' dugout. However, that will end a massive inning. 12 runs combined for both teams. The score is 12-11 after 8 here at Captain Dick Smith Field. The Generals with an opportunity to close it out, an opportunity that we thought they would never have as we head to the 9th inning of action. We'll be back after this short break. Crawford Humphreys and James Laverty back here on WLUR All Access, powered by First Team Broadcasting. A seismic change of events. The Generals putting up 7 runs as they did last night in the bottom of the 8th inning to turn this game into a 12-11 lead. And James, we never thought that we would see this opportunity, but John Raymond coming out of left field, the freshman, now on the mound, and a chance to close this game out with a win for the Generals.
Big spot for John Raymond, the freshman, coming here. His first save opportunity as a General. Obviously, this is a big situation. You came back, but the last thing you want to do, you don't want to have that 28-3 like comeback and then blow the lead. You have to get the job done.
Nick Marrow is up to bat for the Giants. He came in to pinch hit in the top of the 8th inning. And a speedy first pitch by Raymond, but a little outside for ball 1.
Raymond's a guy, he's got some life on his fastball, and he's got some movement, and he's got some nice off-speed stuff. And we saw that on display as he throws a little outside for a 2-0 count. We saw that on display on Wednesday when he started against SVU in a game that got canceled due to rain. But he threw 4+ innings of shutout ball, and he completely shut them down. He got into some jams. He got out of them. He looked a lot more mature than just a freshman pitcher.
Raymond delivers to Marrow, and that ball will somehow miss the strike zone.
Where was that?
Ooh. And the count will go 3-0. Chris Cotton has replaced John Raymond in left field, the senior pitcher who was also getting some time in the bullpen earlier. But Raymond getting set on the mound now. The delivery, and that will go as ball 4. So Raymond will walk. The first batter he sees in today's game happens to be Nick Marrow, the pinch hitter,
he will
take his place over at first base.
He didn't even look too bad. He barely missed his spots there. I think we're definitely looking at a pretty tight strike zone right now for Raymond, obviously at the Generals dugout and the Generals crowd. Not too big a fan of it, but I think Raymond, his stuff looks okay. He just got to pound the zone. He had a lot of ground ball outs in that last game. I would look to see if he pounds the inside part of the zone or if he pounds low and away with that slider, see if he can get a ground ball either to Volpicelli or to Gaze and see if they can turn 2 and completely change this game. Also at the Division III level, 55% of leadoff walks score, so that's something to keep in mind right here as the tying run now for the Giants is on first base with no outs.
Jared Davis is pinch running for Marrow over at first base, was just subbed in. And now Adam Kelly, who has been an offensive weapon all day for the Giants, has contributed to a lot of their big plays up to bat. This will be the first big test that Raymond has faced, and he's not letting him phase it at all. It's 0. The count is 0-2 right now, and a chance for a quick little strikeout to put one out on the board.
Yeah, absolutely. And on Wednesday, one of the things we see, Raymond would get into trouble, but he would bear down and he would get out of situations. Let's see if he could do it right here.
Raymond gets set. Delivery on the way to Kelly, and that one low and inside. So the count will go 1-2.
He's getting it up there. He is throwing pretty darn hard today. I'm impressed by the young freshman. That's one of the things Coach White has been doing. He's been bringing in more and more guys as freshmen that throw a lot harder than some of the kids who get recruited at the D3 level just 2 and 3 years ago.
The 4th pitch of this at-bat is going to be held up, and it looks like Adam Kelly is going to call time, trying to interrupt Raymond's rhythm just a little bit. He had just gotten his feet set. Looked like he was ready to start his motion. Luckily he didn't, but still trying to interrupt his rhythm.
Haven't seen that slider of his yet.
He delivers. This one is going to get hit in the gap between center and right field. Chasing after it is Ryan Munson, and Munson making the big catch there to put one out on the board.
Big play by Munson there to get that one.
And he covered a lot of ground.
Covered a lot of ground. Usually it's the center fielder that goes out and makes that catch, but Munson, the veteran leader, the captain, made that play when he needed to, called him off, took charge. Very important play. That ball gets down, Generals are in trouble.
So the runner remains on first. That's Jared Davis, the pinch runner. And now up to bat is Kuharski, who pinch hitted in that last inning as well. And Kuharski's going to take the first pitch from Raymond for strike 1.
Kuharski, the freshman, not a huge sample size on him, so we're not entirely sure.
Actually looks like we're going to have a pinch hitter for him, so it's going to be Bladen Strickland now. Pinch hitting for Kuharski, who pinch hitted in the top of the 8th inning.
That could be 2.
That one is going to be hit straight into the glove of Brian Wickman, who is able to chase it down and tag his own bag. A one-man show over there, and 2 outs now on the board. Jared Davis advances to second base, but there are 2 outs now on the board, and Wickman showing off his speed there.
Great job by the now converted sophomore first baseman, Brian Wickman, playing a new position. For some reason, the crowd's chanting that he's a freshman. Obviously, he's not. He's a sophomore, but interesting stuff. Big stuff here. What a spot. Tying runner on second, 2 outs, freshman closer in. Big spot for the Generals. Can they finish this comeback?
Beautiful job there by the so 2 outs on the board. 1-0 is the count. Devin Reed, yet another pinch hitter from the top of the 8th inning, back in the game.
I mean, what a moment here. You could not have asked for a better game
and it looks
up
like,
to this point.
And it looks like they're going to take an intentional walk of Reed.
Yep. I think that makes sense in this situation. Now you got the force out at third. Anything on the ground just kind of eliminates any sort of risk having to throw it across the diamond. Say, for example, there's a ground ball to third, which Raymond induced a lot in that first game, and you throw one away at first base, then the tying run scores. Here, you get a ground ball to third, you step on third, and the game's over. Big spot for Raymond in his young career. Probably the biggest moment of his young Generals baseball career up to date.
Smart move by Ted White with that intentional walk. Definitely taking a little bit of pressure off the shoulders of John Raymond, the freshman right-hander. And now up to bat is Chris Hadsall, the shortstop pinch hitter, number 7 on this Giants batting order. Runners on first and second for the Giants. This one is going to get chopped towards Gazin at second. It's going to bounce off his chest. And another error by Jackson Gazin over at second base.
For as well as he's been hitting, he has been playing defense just as bad. That has to be at least his 3rd error of the game, and definitely not only his 3rd mental mistake. Definitely a lot of learning to do at second base for Gazin. If we remember, he actually coming into the season, his job was taken away by the freshman Colin Leby. It was only because Colin Leby got hurt that Gazin had to play second base, and I think we could see by his defensive play why Jackson Gazin wasn't the starting second baseman coming into this season.
Yeah, Gazin with a couple of plays where it looked like he was one step ahead of his body, ready to make the next move mentally, but was not there and ended up fumbling some key plays. And that's one of them, and that could potentially change this game. The Giants now stand with the bases loaded, the game-tying run 90 feet away from home plate. Up to bat is Julio Acosta as Raymond delivers, and that one almost got away from Giardino behind the plate.
Now it's time for the freshman John Raymond to pick up the sophomore Jackson Gazin in a huge spot. Quite frankly, this game should have been over after that ground ball was hit. Now Raymond's got to get another out.
Julio Acosta is going to hit this one. This one's high, going into center field. Going after it is Zach Perkins, and he is able to make the catch. The comeback is complete by the Washington and Lee Generals, who win this one 12-13. And when it looked like all was over after the top of the 8th inning, Generals turn on the burners and put together a 7-run bottom of the 8th.
Crawford, that's back-to-back days where the Generals have put up 7 runs in a late inning. Very impressed. I honestly, when they went up by 6 runs in the top half of the 8th, I said to you, this game isn't over yet. When I said that, I, for the most part, probably thought this game was over. And the Generals proved us wrong. That was an unbelievable comeback. Big point in the season, keeps their undefeated record alive. Very impressive by all parts of the offense. A lot of work to do on defense, especially in some parts of the infield. But the offense right now is clicking. They're hitting the ball well. They're coming back. And from a mental standpoint of this team, they showed a lot of toughness, a lot of character, and a lot of grit today. A good start early on and some good promising signs in an early season for the Generals.
The Generals sweep this 2-game series and move to 5-0 on the young season. Keystone, on the other hand, falls to 0-2. The Generals win this one at Captain Dick Smith Field 12-11. We'll be back for post-game stats and analysis after a quick break. Welcome back to WLUR All Access, powered by First Team Broadcasting. Today's presentation of Generals Athletics has been brought to you in part by the Washington and Lee University Store. Celebrate your favorite Generals team with a sports tee, decal, or hat. If you can think of it, we probably have it. The store is open 7 days a week and is owned and operated by W&L. Of course, all proceeds go back to the Washington and Lee community, helping to fund athletic, alumni, and student programs. Order online anytime at store.wlu.edu. And be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for exclusive online promotions. Go Generals! Crawford Humphreys and James Laverty back here in the press box at Captain Dick Smith Field. A massive win for the Washington and Lee Generals, who remain undefeated, move to 5-0 on this young season. 12-11 is your final score. A heck of a comeback after back-to-back 7-run, 8-inning games for this young Washington and Lee team. And we talked a little bit yesterday when Lily and I were on the call about how many freshmen and sophomores there were on this team and how big of a role they played. And we saw that especially with John Raymond closing things out in this game. But solid production across the board from the underclassmen today.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that you're going to talk about going to this game. When it came to the offense, put up 12 runs today, you can't really point out just one or two guys that centered it around. Everyone was doing their job. Whether it was Zach Perkins or Jack Giardino, Gazen had a decent game offensively. Everyone was getting the job done on offense. They showed grit. They battled out at bats, and they did it to the point where they just wore out the other pitchers, and they had that explosion at the bottom of the eighth. I think I said earlier on, eventually these bats are going to break out. I didn't think it was going to be that late and that close, but definitely interesting stuff to see. An amazing comeback, but a long game, and one thing that was pointed out on both sides, a very, very sloppy game of baseball played today. I think the Generals have their work cut out for them on defense, especially around that middle infield.
And on that same kind of note, again, 5-0, but still a lot of time to go, and the Generals haven't even been able to dip their feet into ODAC play just yet. What are you looking for the Generals to improve on as the season goes on? And again, you work with such a young core of players.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be their defense. Honestly, I think with a lot of their young players are a lot more mature than just freshmen. I know John Raymond pretty well. He's a very mature, level-headed kid. He's played some pretty serious baseball at a high level when he was in high school and club. Same thing with when Mitchell Savino gets back into lineup. That should be pretty interesting. And also to see when Colin Leby gets back, because I think obviously the Generals are having some trouble getting good fielding out of their second baseman. Gazen right now, he's probably canceling out his hitting with how he's playing in the field, so that's something that needs a lot of work. And with Gazen, I think a lot of it's just up here. A lot of it's mental, and if he can get that figured out, I think that'll solve a lot of the problems. But even there, a huge play to end the game, or what should have ended the game, hit right at him. All he had to do was catch the ball and step on second base, and you could just see kind of the wheels spinning in his head, him knowing how big of a play that was. And then, unfortunately, having another error there that could have been really, really costly had Raymond not stepped up and gotten out there. So I think the big thing for the Generals going forward, they can hit. They pretty much have the pitching, but are they going to be able to defensively be sound enough to be one of the top teams in the ODAC? I think that's the question moving forward.
Well, still a young season, but the Generals so far remaining perfect at 5-0. They will take that perfect record on the road beginning on Monday for another 2-game series at North Carolina Wesleyan. Well, that wraps up our coverage of today's contest between Washington and Lee and Keystone. From myself, from James Laverty, and from the entire WLUR crew, we're saying so long and happy Feb break to everyone at home. The Washington and Lee Generals are victorious 12-11. Have a good night, everyone.